I don't know.
Barely.
Oh, really? I had no idea.
I mean, there is a.
I had a client.
Yeah, I don't know why I can't hear you on the speakers.
Freemasons.
Right. So maybe that's the difference. He was a Freemason.
Well, that's if we're not gonna be able to hear you, then probably.
Big facility in
Is that
Utica.
okay?
And then they just bought. Auction. College Indoor Show. Wow. It went bankrupt.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they were paying $32 million. Not that this.
Yeah, yeah.
How you doing?
Good, how's it going?
Is that okay out there?
We're good.
Thanks, Sarah. If I give Dan a second, if you are ready to roll, Sue, whenever you are, or you want to go ahead and let him. Very good.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome you to this session of the Henrietta Planning Board. And on behalf of this board, I want to extend an official welcome to Mrs. Marcy Reynolds, who's joining us this evening. Welcome, Marcy.
Welcome, welcome.
We have a nice welcome gift for you. You have your choice of one of 3 identical streetlight toppers back here, so you can carry that out to your car after the end of the, yeah.
Thank you.
Should look good on your hood. Okay, we'll begin tonight with a public meeting on Queens Park subdivision section 3. Will the secretary please take the roll? Here?
Here.
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 Rob Barley.
Here.
Marcy Reynolds. Here.
Thank you, Sarah. A public hearing is being held before the Henrietta Planning Board today, Tuesday, July 19th, 2022 at 6 p.m. in the main meeting room, 475 Calkins Road in Henrietta, New York, 14467, to hear all persons with regard to the following application. It's application number PB 293.3, Queens Park subdivision section 3, for preliminary subdivision approval of a 4-lot, single-family residential subdivision on 9.04 acres of land located at the northwest corner of Martin Road and East River Road in a rural residential zoned district. This public hearing is being held so that you, the general public, can present your opinions to the Henrietta Planning Board regarding subdivision concerns such as trees, the lots themselves, open space, the infrastructure, utilities, sidewalks, and flood-prone areas. Who is here representing application PB 293.3, please?
Easel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good evening. I'm Walt Baker with DSB Engineers and Architects. With me tonight is the attorney for Forest Creek Equity, the owners of the property, Jared Hurt. If you have any questions for him.
Is the microphone on?
Yep.
Lift it up as high as you can because it really
There we
needs
go.
to be in
Ah,
close proximity.
Want me to repeat that?
What's
Yeah,
your name
really.
again? I'm so sorry. I got.
That's okay.
Jared Hurt with Evans Fox,
HUR.
HIRC.
Thank you.
And Walt Baker with DSB.
Thank you all.
As the chairman stated, we're here tonight for the 4 lots. That is the remaining section of Queens Park, which everybody probably may or may not remember. I mean, we started this Queens Park, the map that I posted on the easel is the rendering for the project, which we presented to the board back in 2012 when we first started this job. So we since then have completed sections 1, 2A and 2B. And the only remaining portion is this area right here. Portion up here that's shaded darker green was actually part of the original 12 acres on that side of the railroad bed, which at the time was zoned RR1. And since then, the zoning has changed. It's RR2, well, with an agricultural overlay on it. So we did Bernie Ecavangelo, Forest Creek Equity, he donated that northern portion to Mary Carriola's. So they've built on that property, but he donated 3 acres of land to them. So we're left with 9 acres, and we've been working our way through the other part of the project. And now that it's completed, we got sewer up to the railroad bed. We've got approval from the railroad to cross under the railroad tracks and bring a sanitary sewer. So we're going to provide sanitary sewers along Martin Road, and we're going to extend the water main from East River Road all the way down in front of the property. Chris Martin obviously has reviewed the plans that we submitted, and he made some comments regarding the extension of the water main, extend it further down, which will also service the properties to the south of us. It'll help them with fire hydrants and emergency access, that type of thing. And the sanitary sewer, Chris mentioned extending it all the way to the corner of the property towards East Henrietta Road, and making it accessible for the properties on East River Road. I'm sorry, East River Road, not East Henrietta Road. Mary Carriola is actually on a holding tank when they developed it, because there are no sewers in the area. And Bernie, at the time when he donated the land, he said, as soon as we complete this phase of the project and we bring sanitary sewers over, we will provide sewer lateral for them. So they'll be able to connect to public sewers. So we also have that on the plan. So we'll work out the details with them as far as getting the sewer extended to their property. So I think, like I mentioned, Chris gave us some comments. And under general, there was like I mentioned, it's rural residential zoning. And we were looking at rural residential 2, when you provide sanitary sewer and water main, you can go to a 2-acre zoning. That's this definition R2 versus a 5-acre zoning. So again, in the beginning, we were proposing to have 8 lots, doing it under incentive zoning, and donate or preserve that darker area, which turned into Mary Carriola. So the plan has changed a little bit over the years, but the concept is still the same. So we came back in now with the 4 lots. So we're gonna have 7-acre, 2-acre, just over 2 acres, and another little bit over 2 acres. So we're proposing the 4 lots on the 9 acres. And basically they're going to be large estate lots. So it's a transition from the homes we built in section 1, 2, and 2A and B over on the other side of the railroad bed. So, but I guess that's the only question we got now with the town staff and the attorney as to how this is being reviewed as far as utilizing the RR2 zoning for the 4 lots. The other comments we did receive are pretty technical in nature, and we can address those. 2 trees per lot. Naturally will comply with that. The front setback, you wanted to increase it to 40 foot, which we're fine with that. Obviously, they're going to be estate lots. They may want to push the houses back even further because they got such a large piece. So that is not a problem. The sanitary sewer, like I mentioned, we'll extend that as well as the water main. So that's pretty straightforward with the comments that we got. So if you have any questions.
Great, thank you. Well, we'll open it up to the residents. Are there any residents in the room that would like to speak on this project at all? Yes, ma'am. Can you come up to the microphone, please? We'll have you introduce yourself and your address, please. Name and address.
I'm Mary Ann Kraft at 5883 East River Road.
Pull the microphone down really close so we can get it.
5883 East River Road.
Mary Ann Kraft.
Just wondering if it's approved, about how long will it take to do the 4 homes?
4 homes, correct.
Yep, we'll ask the builder what their itinerary is. You know, is there a,
Switch
there's
spots.
also a microphone over
Yeah.
there at the table. If
Oh, there's a second one. Okay. As soon as we can get the approval, obviously we have to get approval from the health department for the extension of the sanitary sewer, water authority with the approval for the water main, and address the comments with the town engineer, get the plan signed up. Generally, that takes 2 to 3 months. And then we'll, as soon as the real estate people get involved and they can market the lots, and they'll sell them off and we can start construction. So depends on the market, how fast he can absorb them. So
So probably not this year.
probably not. Yeah.
The sewers
Mhm.
benefit me or my neighbors?
Chris Martin asked us to extend it to the property corner. Are you right on the corner or?
No.
Your next one up, right,
I'm
Ms.
right
Kraft?
next to Carriola.
You're
Uh-huh.
3 up then. A lot of it depends on the grade. So again, Chris Martin, Director of Engineering and Planning. A lot of times we're trying to fight grade on this. So I don't know if we can extend it further north from where we have it. But if you had like a grinder pump or something like that that you wanted to install, you would be able to connect into this.
I knew what that was.
So instead of a gravity system, you may have to pump it.
Yeah, and then basically, you must be over here.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
Correct. Yeah, so Chris asked us to extend, it. We had a sewer, this is an easement line, so we're gonna extend the sewer to here. Chris asked us to extend the sewer all the way to the end and provide an easement up through here, so it'll be a public easement to the town. So you would be able to take your house, and if you're on a septic system now, so you convert the septic system, eliminate the field in the tank and use it as a holding tank, they call it. And you put a pump in. It's kind of like almost like a sump pump. And then when it cycles, it would pump it and you'd have a 1.5 inch line and it would flow down to the public sewer.
So it would have to attach to my,
Your septic tank, basically.
that's,
You convert it.
that's almost in the front of the house.
Yeah, so you'd have to run a line around the back and then connect in through the easement. So you can work out the details with Chris and myself.
And if it's not affordable, you stay where you are.
Right, if you're not having any septic issues, then, obviously you can keep the system. But if you do have your system does fail, you have other options that you could follow.
Is there an approximate cost to do that? To connect to these? I know it varies with distance, but
Yeah, there would be the cost of putting in a pump and then running a force main or a pipe from the pump to the sanitary sewer. We can talk a little bit later on this if you want, Ms. Kraft. We can, take a global look at it and
Right.
see maybe it's something we can do with some of the other neighbors.
okay.
But right now, it looks like we're running out of gravity, so to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room that would like to speak regarding this application? Sarah, is there anybody online?
I don't have anybody on.
Nobody online?
No one online.
Okay, are there any board members at this point like to speak to this application? Okay, if there are no more
Good, Mr.
comments,
Chairman.
I'm sorry.
Well, I have
I'm
a
good.
question.
Yes, Mr. Barley?
The lateral that's run out, will it affect any other 2 houses that are here, Walt?
I'm sorry?
The lateral for sewer,
Oh, the extension of the sewer main?
would that, the Griffo or Hoover, would that affect their homes?
Yes,
Okay.
actually, Chris asked me to look at that a couple months ago, actually, when we first started getting ready for this section. And I looked at the grade and it actually goes uphill. So for them and their houses are actually lower than their backyard property line is.
Okay,
So they wouldn't have to pump it like Chris said,
okay,
no.
all right.
But we could have gravity all the way to the corner of our lot and provide the easement, and then they could run the low pressure force main down to that gravity manhole.
Okay. No other questions?
No other questions? Okay, Mr. List, did you have a question, sir?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Well, if there are no more comments regarding this application, I therefore,
Yeah, I have a couple. questions.
oh, I'm sorry, okay.
No, and I'm going to go back onto that sanitary. So Chris is, one of the questions that we asked is to move, is the sanitary right now proposed to go north between lot 3 and 4?
Just as a sewer gravity lateral to Carriola.
Okay, so did we talk about possibility of putting that on the east side of lot 4 so that or where's the easements to the other houses on East River Road? Are they supposed to cross lot 4 to get to the main?
It will go up what would that be, the eastern side of lot number 4. However, like I mentioned, their houses are actually lower than our grade on our
Right. But
property.
that's what even help if it was along the east side of 4, then they're not trying to go all the way up and across 4. I guess I'm not understanding exactly where the tie-in point would be for those houses on East River Road.
Right.
Is it halfway up the Mary Carriola lot? I mean, so would it be on the property line between 3 and 4 on the north side?
Yeah, we could look at extending it up the property line and then obviously then it'd be closer to tying in.
Yeah, I think the grade just starts dropping off.
It does.
Craig. We-
Yeah, I'm looking at the grading plan. I mean, it's 580, 581, lot 1, 2, 3, and 4. It doesn't change anything between 3 and 4, but I definitely see it tail off to the east. I mean, it's hit or miss on the survey from going east of that lot down to 576. But again, my point is still this, if the house, whatever the second one up is, or even third one up, where do they connect? Do they have to go all the way across 4 to connect into the main that's between 3 and 4?
No, the one between 3 and 4 is just a lateral for Carriola.
And Mary Carriola sits a
So
lot
they-
higher
Yeah.
than the lots along
Right.
East River Road.
So the third lot up would have to go all the way south to Martin Road and then into
Then
the,
it would have to pump in. The inverts are too low to connect in.
I understand.
We can look at this a little more.
But the
globally.
direction would have to be all the way south to Martin Road to go west into the main that's along Martin. Because if it's just a lateral going up to Mary Carriola, then the main tie would be down at Martin Road.
But again, we can't do that because of gravity.
I understand it's a force main. I'm just talking
Well, Mary
direction.
Carriola, they can do by gravity. The
Right.
ones along East River Road, we cannot at this point.
Right, but do they have to go across lot 4 to force main into the main?
No,
They'll have to go along the side of
the
it,
side of it.
along the east side.
Okay.
We'll get an easement from the owner so that they do want to connect a pump into it,
Okay,
excuse me, that they can do that.
I was wondering if the lateral could go up the east side, and if that gets an easement and it's dedicated, then you're running the lateral up to Mary Carriola, and then the houses can just pump directly to their western property line.
I
Hey,
see what
Walt,
you're
can you
saying,
point
but
that out on the map? Where
Yeah.
it's gonna be? It's down in that corner?
I'm sorry?
Gravity
Can you
wise,
point that out on the map?
Yeah.
Gravity sewer, like Chris mentioned, the grade actually starts to drop off on the property.
Mhm.
Goes uphill, Mary Carriola is higher here, they're lower.
Yeah.
Along here, what Chris was saying, can we run an easement up along here, this way they can
Right.
tie in.
That's what I thought Chris was saying. That's what I thought that Craig was saying.
Right, the Carriola line is just gonna be a 4-inch line strictly for them, it's a gravity line.
Okay.
We promised them.
Right.
We donated the land, we donated the land, and said, listen, as soon as I develop this, I'll also provide you access to sewers, so they're off the only thing. We get
Mhm.
approval based on the fact sometime in the future, it would help our thinking. And this would just be a single gravity lateral for them. When we start going this way, the grade drops off. So I can barely get the sewer to the corner with cover, but going up the hill doesn't work.
So there's no way you can move the entire easement to the eastern side because of the gravity situation.
Correct, yeah, I can't move this over here. I tried it. I figured, well, I can catch all. four.
Exactly, because without knowing the elevation situation, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You start looking at the grade, it doesn't work.
No. But the Mary Carriola septic is in the east side. It's the southeast corner of their existing lot, right?
Yes,
It's on the very east side of, so their existing septic backs up to the houses on East River Road.
right.
Okay,
not that I'm mistaken, Walt, Mary Carriola is much higher than the
Correct.
houses on,
Yeah.
excuse me, East River Road.
Right, it kind of crowns off through almost the center of our property up through Carriolas. It crowns off, then it starts going downhill dramatically towards East River. And like I mentioned, their houses are actually lower than their back property line. So when I got the invert of trying to run a sewer up there, it was the same elevation as their house.
I'm just trying to understand too, if I mean, the comment is that we're providing sewer, but a 300-foot force main, I don't know if that's providing sewer,
Yeah, or sometimes what we can do is we could put a low pressure force main in, like a 4-inch or
Yeah.
3-inch. And then each individual person could connect with a little grinder pump and do it that way.
Yeah, the
So they're not
county,
Going all the way to, the corner of East River Road and Martin, but, to their back property lines. But again, we're only probably gonna service, 3 houses at most?
correct.
But that's something that we could do to take some of the cost off the residents if they wanted to. That's something we have discussed with the developer as one of the incentives.
Right.
and water is going to be continued to the east, or how far is the water going to go?
Well, it's going to actually start, there's a 12-inch main on East River Road and nothing goes west on Martin. So we're
So
going to
you're gonna
extend
take
it from
west to your 4 houses?
Correct. And Chris asked us to extend it further down, so it'll service the church south of us.
Are they on well?
So we'll end up with 2 fire hydrants
They're on
along
well.
there.
Oh, I take that back. I think they have a long drawn out service.
They do,
from East
yeah.
River Road.
Yeah.
That they drag in, but it's not enough for fire protection.
Okay.
Right. They've got a single service coming off East River Road, like you mentioned about 4. I looked at it a few years ago because they were talking about trying to get a new line along there and nothing ever happened, but their service that services their building now, it comes off the East River Road, about the middle of their property, 400 or 500 feet south of Martin Road. So
Right.
This
Right
would
now, they
actually-
have A dry hydrant that connects into the pond there. So
Yeah.
This would put a live fire hydrant right near their driveway.
Okay, that's a good addition.
I'll send Mr. Record.
Yeah, the only other comment that I guess I have is if you're gonna tuck these houses back, you may just want to take a look at fire code as to what you're not used to, that is how far driveways can go before they need to be fire access.
right.
Then beefed up even more, which,
Yeah, well, we're gonna have a 40-foot front setback. It's up, a lot of people are gonna want their usable area in their backyard, so I don't think we'll be pushing the houses too far back.
that's right.
Yeah.
I didn't think so, but
Yeah.
100 feet, I forget what it is. It's still got to be paved or fire access.
Yeah, I think these houses, I think that the deepest one is 450 feet or something like that, so.
Okay,
Obviously,
no,
they're
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Those
You're
are my
welcome.
comments.
Okay, I'll ask the audience one more time. Any resident that would like to speak, sir, come forward and please introduce yourself and provide your address.
Jim Griffel, live at 5945 East River. I just wanted to see where the sewers were going.
Sure.
And this is Martin Road, so you're gonna make the road going right in from Martin? No, it's just gonna be across.
This guy. He's right here. That's Mr. Griffo. He's gonna be able to tie in. Well. The thing is, these lots is over 5 acres. And power two is over 5 acres. It's supposed to be. Two. Really not steering the sewer. Fair. Not fair.
Thank you, Mr. Griffo.
Really not.
When you start building, how long will it
To extend
be in
something to the
progress
public.
for 4 homes?
For 1, 2.
Build a house
in 4 or 5 months. Come on.
Each, right? So this could go on for a year and a half of building.
Depending
on how fast
they sell.
Do you give earplugs?
Is what it is.
Beep, beep, beep.
Yeah, right. Bang, bang, bang. Here it goes.
Thank you, Mrs. Kraft. Anybody else from the audience like to speak? Mr. Record, anybody online, sir?
I have nobody online.
Okay, if there are no more comments regarding this application, I therefore close the public hearing. The planning board will now adjourn the public hearing of tonight's meeting and move into our scheduled workshop. We now move into the workshop of this evening's meeting. Members present, Matt Borkowski, Patricia Brill, Craig Eckert, Walter Liss, Robert Barley, Marcy Reynolds, Planning Board Attorney Dan Mastrella, and Chris Martin, Director of Engineering and Planning as part of town staff. First item on the agenda this evening will be the minutes from the June 21st, 2022 meeting. The chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Eckert. Do we have a sufficient second, please?
Second.
Mr. Liss, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstains?
Abstain, please.
Mr. Borkowski? And
Yes.
Mrs. Reynolds?
Yes.
Okay, and the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. Thank you. First application this evening is PB 293.3, Queens Park subdivision, section 3, for preliminary subdivision approval of a 4-lot, single-family residential subdivision on 9.004 acres of land located at the northwest corner of Martin Road and East River Road in a rural residential zone district. So board members, we heard the presentation. I will open it up again. Gentlemen, anything you'd like to add at this point from your previous comments?
No, sir.
Okay. The chair will recognize the board members and start. Mr. List,
Thank you, Mr.
you're
Chairman.
welcome.
Just a review of what you'd gone over before. Now, these 4 lots, Mr. Hoover, Mr. and Mrs. Griffo, Mr. and Mrs. Kraft lot, they will not tie into the sewer line. They will not have that option to go into that sanitary sewer
They will have the option to tie in. However, we can't get there by gravity.
by gravity.
Right, not a gravity sewer
Well,
line.
you would have to,
They would have to pump.
they would have to on their own.
Right, they'd have to convert their septic system, eliminate the field, and the septic tank would have to be pumped out, and they can convert the tank into a pumping chamber, if you will. And then it would pump similar to what you see with a sump pump. When it
Sure,
cycles,
sure.
it would pump
What
it
would be a
through.
rough estimate on your, just a ballpark figure for a homeowner to do something like that?
To convert it,
Yeah,
today's probably 7-8 grand. Yeah,
pretty cost prohibitive.
yeah, but if the septic system fails and they have to replace the septic system,
Yes, I know.
depending
I've
on
been
what
there.
kind of condition it's in, it could be 15 to 20.
Yeah.
And it depends on how old it is, they have life expectancies and they start to fail, then you have to replace the lines. Generally, the tanks are usually good, but just to have a septic installer come out and replace the lines with the health department approval and the process you have to go through.
Right, right.
It could be, I've seen it up to 15. And
Yeah.
if they have to, if the perks don't work right, then it could be 25. Yeah.
It wouldn't be something that Forest Creek Equity Company would be interested in helping these people out to tie them into this system.
We're kind of limited on extending 1,200 feet of water main, another
Right.
1,200 feet of sanitary sewer, couple fire hydrants, everything. You won't know the cost of everything has gone up as the prices
Sure,
are out of
sure.
sight these days.
I understand.
So we have to tie into East River Road. We have to get a permit from the county to do that and tap that with the water main and extend it. So it's not a cheap proposition just to get 4 lots. So
Mhm.
there's a break even.
Are these lots pre-sold or are they?
No,
No, they have not.
no, it's not approved. So we haven't marketed them yet.
Are these going to be considered like starter homes or?
More of an estate
Estate
style.
type homes
because
since they're
it's
2 acre?
correct. It's a 2 acres. So somebody might have their 3-car garage and a bigger home.
Sure.
Oh.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. List. And Walter, I will mention, I know you spoke with Chris before the meeting, so we're going to treat this more of a discussion item, okay?
Yes.
I understand we're not going to take any action this evening because there's some numbers you folks have to work out. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So board members, we're just going to treat this as a discussion item. We can continue what we were doing during the public hearing, okay? Just kind of FYI. Now, the chair will recognize Mr. Barley.
Thank you, Mr.
You're
Chairman.
welcome.
Well, just so I understand, these are 2 acres, but ordinarily in rural residential, we'll have to have 5. Is that correct?
Yes. If you don't have sewer and water,
So can you point out where the water main, that 1,200 feet is going to be on your
Yes.
map?
like I mentioned, presently, the 12-inch water main on East River Road.
Mm-hmm,
When we tap it, it's actually on the north side of the park.
mm-hmm.
Tap that, bring it down. We brought it down to service 4 lots. Chris asked to continue it down.
Okay,
Water authority actually had comments with them. They said the same.
Okay.
We'll have to extend the water main down. So, right here, our property alone, is over 1,000 feet.
Mhm.
So then we have another 1,000 feet here.
gotcha.
Like I mentioned, it's 1,200 feet of water main. That means 2 fire hydrants. the 500 spacing. So, and on the edge, we
Mhm.
park the last fire hydrant. And then the sanitary, like I mentioned, we do have this is all over. We have a sanitary sewer that comes all the way through this project here, Queens.
Right.
Part 2A in this area. We actually, when we designed this, we stubbed down this property line with an easement to the town. Extended here, and like I mentioned recently, we received approval from the railroad. We also, National Grid has easement along here for telephone line.
Mm-hmm.
We got approval from them to go under the tracks,
That's not cheap.
All right, thanks, Walt. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, Mr. Barley. Chair will recognize Mr. Borkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
My big question was the calculations that were discussed, so it sounds like we're covering that. I just wanted to note that for what you guys are doing, I actually appreciate you being neighborly, at least getting some of that access to them, so it's an optional thing.
Correct.
And also the fact that part of the reason this changed is because you donated some land to Mary Carriola, so I think that both of those things are very cool and neighborly, so I appreciate it.
Right. Originally, we were looking at, if you see on that conceptual map, which we presented to the board in 2012, we were going to, out of the 12 acres, we were going to have 8 lots.
And there's a
then Bernie
little
just-
cul-de-sac, right?
Correct. And have a cul-de-sac and a public road. And then Bernie thought about it actually when he donated land to Carriola. So he says, listen, I'll just do 4 frontage lots and make them nice, bigger lots and do that.
Well, it's a good solution and it's also neighborly, so we appreciate that here. I don't think we can move forward until we have the calculations, but
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Borkowski. You're welcome. The chair will recognize Mr. Eckert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any other comments than what we previously discussed. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Chair will recognize Mrs. Brill.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Staying on the subject of being neighborly, I guess I can start with asking what the plans are for some of the landscaping against the eastern part of the property.
Yeah.
As a buffer, as a berm, evergreens, how do you plan on?
Actually, I saw that in one of Chris's comments. So I did Google Earth, which you could take a look at this. Presently, their whole property line is
Existing.
large trees. You can see Carriola sites up here. So as far as providing any more buffer along the property line, would be better off.
And most of, they're all deciduous from what I've seen.
Yes. Again, and then the grade drops off.
Yeah. Thank you, Walt. I appreciate it. Just thinking about when after the fall, when the leaves fall, and if they're only deciduous trees, what type of buffer do we have in place then? So that's something I will be looking at. Let me see if I had anything else. Forgive me. I think everything else has been covered that I had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Brill. Okay, the chair will recognize Mrs. Reynolds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no additional questions.
Thank you very much. Anything from town staff? Mr. Mastrella?
I'll be talking with the applicant and their representative regarding the situation with the lot sizes.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Martin?
I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, very good. Well, the chair will make a motion to table application PB 293.3 this evening pending the discussions on the mathematics there. And we'll entertain a second. Mr. Borkowski, thank you. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstains? The opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. We have a table. Gentlemen, we'll see you again sometime soon, okay?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere.
Okay, next on the agenda this evening is application number PB 332.1, the Fairways at Riverton subdivision, section 1, for final subdivision approval of a 28-lot, single-family residential subdivision of plus or minus 11.948 acres located on Erie Station Road in a planned unit development zone district. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Walt Baker with DSB Engineers and Architects. With me today is Jared Hurt, counsel for Forest Creek Equity. Mr. Ike Evangelo couldn't be here tonight, but he's also sent along Anthony Tata from Faber Homes, which will be the home builders for the project. And Forest Creek Equity is the development side of the operation. So as the board will recall, we've been in front of the board for preliminary approval, which we received preliminary overall for the entire site. The map I posted there depicts section 1, and then it's an overall that shows the remaining areas for the future sections, which we're going to have section 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the future, but this would be the first section due to the fact the sewers are south of us. And we're going to obviously start there, move uphill. We did receive comments. Obviously, we're going with a dedicated road. Public, we're going to have public sidewalks, streetlights, and sewer mains, water mains. The storm system, just the standard as we do on all the projects, which we did on Queens Park and every other job we've worked on. So we do have the maps and we submitted them to Chris. I think he put the roll on your desk for you. So, but long story short, we'll obviously comply with the comments from Chris. There were a couple of things I'd like to mention that he stated we should mention about appears to be a 50-foot transition buffer may be required for this project. We recommend that the planning board reduce the buffer requirement to the rear setback requirement of 30 feet. We have a 30 feet standard rear setback. And I'm not quite sure where this transition buffer would come in because the zoning on this parcel is planned unit development and we only abut the golf course. And the golf course is also in that planned unit development zoning. So we're not adjacent to a different zoning classification, which I'm assuming when you have a transition from one zoning code to another, you have a buffer zone. And as you may recall, when we went to the town board, we actually had to get, because it's a planned unit development, we got a special use permit from the town board last January. And with that, the town board and supervisor asked us to provide a 15-foot trail system, piece of our property donated to the town for the town to build a trail system. And we did that along the entire length of the golf course. So we have a 30-foot rear setback, and then there's also a 15-foot strip of land that's going to become town land with the trail on it before you even get to the golf course. And the golf course is zoned, same zoning as we are. So I don't know if it's a
Mr.
technicality.
Martin, would you like to?
I would be more than happy to answer that question. So it's not based on zoning law, it's based on use.
Okay,
And because it's open space / golf course
okay.
that the subdivision is abutting up to, then it falls under the transition buffers. But this board has the right or has the power to reduce that transitional buffer to whatever the setback is.
Okay,
So in this case, it's 30 feet,
30 feet, right.
30 feet.
And as I mentioned, then we're going to actually donate or trade with the town because there's a strip of land that comes through our property. There's a 1 acre strip that's actually was an access through the property from back in the 1970s when Riverton was first developed. And the town asked us to keep a portion of that, which I can show you on this map. Land is 1 acre size from Erie Station all the way to the golf course. The town asked us to keep this and connect it so it ties into the public roads. The sidewalk right to this portion here. And then the town wanted to keep this area to have access to the golf course. Like I mentioned, we have a 15-foot strip of land. It's actually going to eventually run all the way down the outside of the property. That trade basically the 15-foot strip, this portion for this piece that goes through here. As Chris mentioned, then I guess we're going to have a 30-foot rear setback for the subdivision. And there's also that 15-foot strip of land before you get to the golf course.
Well,
So
can
it's
you
like
point out where
45
the
feet.
Throughway is on that?
I'm sorry?
Can you point out where the throughway is on that map?
All the way to the north side.
Oh, and well, maybe we should talk about buffering along the throughway. Did I steal your thunder?
Again, so this would be section 1, obviously the size of the drawing. So we had to split it up here. So this is the south end, this is still north. As I showed you, that's that strip of land I was talking about, comes through the property. And then this portion here would be the town keep this portion here. But as you mentioned, I think it's preliminary, we asked if we could provide line of trees along the north end. So we're going to put berm, trees, the entire length of the throughway for that. And I talked to Chris and you mentioned it at the preliminary meeting, so we're going to comply with that. And we're going to do that during phase one, as you mentioned then. You said, couldn't you put it in early instead of waiting until you get to 5? This way it'll give trees a chance to grow. So we'll do that with our first section.
Okay, your presentation already through?
I
Anything else?
think I had 2 more.
Okay, sure.
Back under drainage, during the clearing of the tree process, the vegetation at Riverton Golf Course was preserved to provide a buffer. If you recall, we did clear the site a number of years ago. And we left a 30-foot strip of trees just to keep that buffer during the process till we started developing. And this area here. The golf course, we've got lots in the back here where they get kind of close. So we're going to have some areas where the vegetation and the grading occurs that some of those trees will come down, but a lot of them weren't in that great a shape. Chris and I walked it. It depends, you know. So there are a lot of deciduous trees that were aging. So trying to preserve them is going to be difficult. And the last thing was the slope on those lots through here. Change the grading so we can do walkout bases, lower grading. Other than that, we'll comply with Chris's comments.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, the Chair will recognize Mr. Liss.
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Chair will recognize Mr. Barley.
Well, there were a lot of trees already removed from this site.
Yes.
Why are we looking to remove these other trees you just mentioned?
Like I mentioned, Chris and I walked the site. Some of those trees along the golf course are sporadic. Even though we said, you know, when we did it and got the permit to do it, we had the surveyor stake it out. We stayed away from the property boundaries.
Mhm.
We stayed in, but some of those areas weren't dense to start with. So what I'm getting at is some of those trees that he asked to preserve aren't there.
Well, some of that 15 feet will probably provide.
Oh, that's
the
enough.
walking trail, correct?
Correct. And that's the other point, actually. I forgot about that. It's when we put the trail in or when the town puts the trail in, anything that's there is going to go anyways.
Okay. No other questions? Mr. Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Barley. Chair will recognize Mr. Borkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
We've been looking at this for a little bit. I think I'm good. There's a lot going on, but I like it.
And we spent quite a bit of time on this with the town board as well as preliminary with the planning board.
You have.
All set. Thank you, Mr. Borkowski. Chair will recognize Mrs. Brill.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Regarding number 16, the concrete gutters versus the curbs,
Yes.
which way are we going on that?
The gutters. We've already submitted a letter for with the town board to change it from the town code states vertical curb, if you will, versus gutters, but we've been doing gutters in the town since as long as I can remember. We've always had to submit because the code states concrete curb, so we always put in for a waiver through the town board.
Thank you. Other thing was the LED instead of the high pressure
Yes.
sodium.
No, not a problem. Right. Like I mentioned, we're going to have street lights throughout the project. So we space them out approximately 250 feet apart and position them at intersections. So the intersections are always lit up and then space them down the street itself. And if the town's converting to LEDs, which mostly every place else is, so we're willing to do that.
And the properties that have the 8% slope is what you were talking about. Having the walkout basements and
Correct. Yeah, it's basically lot 104 through 111.
thank you.
Yeah, so basically by making them walkouts, we're dropping the grade like 5 feet. So the backyards will be flatter and obviously they'll have a walkout basement. So
That's all I had.
So the
Mr. Chairman.
transition will occur between the houses down to the backyard.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Brill. Chair will recognize Mr. Eckert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So going along with the walkout basements, those houses are going to be picked up almost 5 feet off existing grade. So-
No, we're gonna leave the houses are set now 2 to 2.5 feet higher than the road, the driveway lip, basically we call it. So
I'm seeing 533 coming through on lot 50 on 106, and it's a
correct.
garage, it's a finished floor of 538.
Yeah, so right, so the
So I got-
35 contour will basically occur between the houses.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I said 533 is existing going through there when you've got a 538 finished floor,
Right, but what's the garage floor elevation? It should be,
537.
Yeah.
So you've got almost a 4 or 5 foot change.
Right.
Then to cut out to the back, so.
yep, that's typical, right? So you'd have
Okay.
the transition from the front yard to the backyard occur along the side wall of the house.
This sidewalk is still planned. I mean, was there a call up for the sidewalk in Erie Station?
Yes,
And that's going in this section too?
yes,
Okay.
yes, I forgot to mention that, but it was on the preliminary approval. We're extending sidewalks the full length to the outside of the property.
Right.
As the board requested, the town board requested.
Yeah, that was one of the conditions of town board approval.
Yeah.
As per the town board resolution that was provided with your package.
So the sidewalk that's getting swapped, I mean, the conservation area, that's a sidewalk that goes to Riverbend Park from Riverton Community Association, that's getting swapped for the trail.
Right.
And that, right now, it dead ends on the east side of Erie Station Road. They won't be able to go to Countess to get in yet until that section goes in. They'll have to go south to Scott's West Henrietta Road to cross.
I think that's what the supervisor was talking about, the people and the other side in existing Riverton would actually have a sidewalk with, I guess they're doing the extension with the
Eventually, the Riverwalk Trail.
Riverwalk Trail will go south on the east side, basically where the existing Riverton houses are now.
Right.
And then they're gonna put a crosswalk there with a button and a flashing to stop the traffic, so it's in a straightaway versus a curve.
And the state doesn't need a signal at that intersection.
No, we've gone through a traffic study with New York State DOT and our consultant and the town's consultant, as well as New York State DOT, and it wasn't warranted.
Okay. I don't see really too much. Looking at the 30-foot setback, and I don't really see too many that really even fit that description on the south side. I see 105, maybe 106, but even 107 starts to walk away from the property line. 108 and 109, right, Chris?
Yep.
The corner at 110 and 111, that's actually a small piece of the town too, that's not part of the golf course. I mean, it must be part of the land, but that's all green space in between the
It is,
golf
yeah.
course and that property too.
I should have brought an aerial of the golf course because there's nothing in that area
Yeah,
that's part of the 9-hole golf course that's there. That's just basically mowed lawn on the golf course. It's not part of a fairway for one of the holes or anything. It's just open space.
so I only see 1 or 2 houses that would infringe on that or
Correct.
to that to begin with, and not to mention the 15 feet of the sidewalk on top. So
Right, right. And then there'll be the trail. That'll be the town trail.
it'll
At the
be
back of the lots.
up to the people to see how comfortable they are living that close to the golf course
Yes.
and the driving range.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
with the tee off
More
on
towards,
8.
when you get up to section, even that, when you get up, you've been out there, when you get up closer to section 3 and 4,
Mhm.
I think there's maybe one golf hole that actually most people
Yep.
slice the ball, they don't hook it. So and the fairway runs south anyway, so they're gonna be missing the ball into the golf course, not out of the golf.
And I thought we talked about this in another meeting on the supervisor. So you're breaking this off into different sections from one overall set. piece.
Correct.
Does this site itself balance, or is there still going to be a cut or a fill from another piece of this property?
When we get into section 2, we're gonna have to move some dirt in section 2. So we're looking at actually trying to balance that right now for the future section. But section 1 should work out fine.
Section 1's a balance.
Right, and we've got 2 ponds in section 1.
Right.
So, and they stand alone. And then section 2, like I mentioned earlier, we had, or in a previous meeting, we have another pond in section 2 that'll actually service the drainage for section 3 and 2. So that we're gonna have to adjust a little bit of that. So try to raise the grade up. And then when we get into section 4 and 5, that kind of stands alone and drains the opposite direction.
Okay. I mean, I'd like to almost see it kind of all go in since it was already cleared, but it is what it is, so. That's it, Mr. Chairman. Those are the questions that I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eckert. Yeah, the chair would like to welcome Councilwoman Safranek. Thank you for Safranek for coming. Thank you. And now the chair will recognize Mrs. Reynolds.
I am all set, Mr.
Very
Chairman.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Chris, help me out. Do we need to vote on that setback then, or are we?
As long, either that or the board agrees to it, but probably a vote is a good way to go on.
Okay. All right. Well, the chair will make a motion to.
Let me ask one question.
Yes, Mr. List.
There's no HOA in this subdivision, is there not? Is there?
Yes, it's going to be part of the overall Riverton project, right?
Right. Will there be a marker at the entrance, like a marker that says this is the fairways at Riverton?
A monument sign,
A
so to speak.
monument sign or
Right,
some
right,
kind,
Right. I don't know. if-
landscaped with some kind of,
I don't know if Bernie wants to have one or not. Yeah.
oh. if
Yeah,
Bernie
generally,
doesn't-
we've done that. We've done that at, I don't think we did it at Queens Park.
Park. I don't think there's one
Yeah.
back there.
No, but we did it at
Because then it becomes-
Berkshire. We got one at Berkshire.
Place, yeah.
Does then it become a responsibility of the corner lot
That's what I was-
homeowner to
Yes, sir. Yep,
manage that or the
Yes.
HOA to take care of that?
correct.
Okay, so we don't know that at this point.
I'm not sure if he wants to do it because we have 2 entrances into the site, so I'm not sure how he wants to handle that.
All right, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so the chair, well, we'll take a vote. Doesn't have to be a motion, correct? We'll just take a vote and see how we feel about reducing the setback to 30 feet. Mr. List, your thoughts?
I'm fine, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, reduced to 30?
Reduced to 30 or 15? What were you doing? Were you asking the question?
We got to
Reduce to
the
30 from 50.
Okay.
I'm good.
So Mr. Barley, yes?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Borkowski?
Yes.
Yes, Mrs. Brill,
Yes.
Mr. Eckert,
Yes.
and Mrs. Reynolds.
Yes.
Okay, so we all vote to reduce the setback from 50 to 30.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Chair will entertain a motion on PB 332.1.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr.
can I
Estrella.
interject?
Yes.
It came to my attention, I don't think this came up at preliminary approval, but the land swap between the town and the developer apparently involves land that is considered parkland.
Right.
Which the developer is aware and the town board is aware is going to require state legislative approval for that to occur because it's an alienation of parkland. There's a process to do it, and probably the swap will probably accomplish that, and hopefully it'll get done, but it hasn't gotten done. The town still owns that land. You can approve this with the town still owning part of the land because the town has consented to that. However, any approval should be conditioned upon the town actually conveying the land to the applicant, with the understanding that the town doesn't have sole discretion in doing so. The legislature has to approve that occurring. So, and let me ask the applicant, this is in section 1. So is the land that the town's conveying, what schedule wise, when is that going to be disturbed and how is it going to be disturbed?
If I can point it out. Straight across the golf course.
Right.
So basically, my understanding is that until that state approval occurs, we can't get a building permit, we can't build on any of those lots. We can subdivide it, we can file it, we 2, 3, 4, 5 lots at the north end of the site. So obviously, we will build this and we won't obviously pay and allocate the building permit, building part until this transfer happens. We understand that this is already approved with the town board to prepare that to the state.
Okay.
And the justification, as Mr. Mistrella stated, was that of this 1 acre piece, the town is going to keep a portion of it free, anybody that's wants public access from the right of way and sidewalk through the golf course. And town works any features on the golf course.
Riverbend Park's a disc golf course, but that's back behind.
Yeah, that was basically maintaining access to this parkway. So this would be transferred, and then, like I mentioned, of that 0.8 acres, we are transferring what's good from staff actually. Mentioned towards the river, so they want to bring this river walk trail all the way down through and continue all the way down. So transferring that, basically like what we be able to build and towns aware that this is aware of it. Sure, the building department will be made aware of it, and we won't market and sell those lots until the transfer occurs. Hopefully, it'll be within 6 months. And it's going to take us, like I mentioned previously, to get through the approval process with the agencies in the New York State DOT for curb cuts. It's going to take us, if we're lucky, 3 months to get the approvals before we can even start moving dirt. So it'll be a while before we can even look at putting up houses.
Okay, thank you, Walt.
So,
So
Mr.
in-
Mistrella,
in-
if we put in approval, would we say this is conditional on land swap approval? Is that enough? verbiage?
It is, and it's, and the, I think the town attorney has already opined that he does not see an issue with the road going through, so long as the developer understands it's at its own risk in doing so, in case this land swap does not go through, and then whatever accommodations can be made. I'm sure that the town board is willing to cooperate, but it should be conditioned on the land swap with the understanding that it is not solely in the town's discretion to do so. It requires state approval.
So what, those 5 lots are in the section 1? what we're
Correct.
discussing,
Right.
Just to be clear.
And like I mentioned, hopefully, by the time it gets through the state legislature, I mean, everybody's estimate seems to be around 6 months. So we'll see if that happens.
Any other comments?
Okay,
Chair will entertain a motion. Thank you, Dan.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve PB 332.1, conditional on land swap requiring state approval.
Thank you, Mr. Borkowski. Mr. Mistrella, that'll be sufficient? You said, okay, very good. Is there a sufficient second, please?
Second?
Mrs. Brill, thank you. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Mr. Barley? And any abstains?
Did you both
And
say nay?
Walt.
Yeah, I think Walter.
Hey,
What was
hey
that?
down here too.
A nay?
Yes. Nay.
Okay, and we had abstain?
Yes. One.
Mrs. Reynolds, okay, thank you. Okay, in the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, you too. Next item, application 22-013, Mary Carriola Residence Addition for final site plan approval for an 812 square foot addition and renovations to the existing residence located along 5861 East River Road in a rural residential zone district. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. I'm Mike Mantell. I'm a civil engineer with Stantec here on behalf of Mary Carriola. I also have Annalyn Brink here from Mary Carriola.
What's the name? I'm sorry.
Annalyn Brink
Anna Lynn, thank you.
and Joe McNinch with SWBR, the architect. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to present this project to you tonight. It is a addition to the existing Mary Carriola Residence Building at 5861 East River Road in the town of Henrietta. The existing facility was constructed in 2014. It was built to accommodate 6 adult individuals with physical and emotional challenges that had aged out of the children's program. It includes a community-based 24-hour supervised program for the individuals with trained, competent, direct support professionals, providing habilitation services and supervision for the individuals living at the facility. The proposed project includes an 812 square foot addition to the western side of the existing facility, as well as some interior renovations. The exterior of the addition will look just like the rest of the facility. We did provide some photos of what the existing facility looks like. So the finishes and colors and all that of the addition will match what the existing residence looks like. And the height of the addition will also match the existing residence. The addition itself will provide additional or an enlarged office space and meeting and conference room for the current staff. The idea, they're not adding staff or individuals to the facility, but it's to provide a more adequate space for the staff that's working there. So it'll still be the same number of staff. The basement underneath the addition will also be expanded. So we're providing a emergency egress window for that space. As I said, there won't be an increase in staff or use of the facility, so that won't have an impact on water and sewer use for this facility. The existing septic system south of the building. It's my understanding that it's been working properly. They haven't had any issues with that septic system, and it won't be impacted by this project. The other part of the project is we're proposing 4 new parking spaces. The parallel parking spaces along the existing drive aisle across from the existing parking spaces. Currently, people park along the edge of that driveway and, blocks portions of the driveway. So we're trying to give them some additional dedicated parking spaces so people will have that and it won't interfere with the driveway coming in. There'll be minor increase in impervious area from the project, which won't have any impact on the stormwater management facility, which is a dry swale. Or any of the adjacent properties. And we did receive comments from engineering and from the building department, and we don't take exception to any of the comments. We'll go ahead and address those.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, so great. Thank you. That's so if the board has any questions.
Very good. Yep, the chair will recognize Mr. Liss.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
The only comment I really have on this, it's a great addition to the project, but if it's not cost prohibitive, are you looking into tying into the sanitary sewer line?
I know there was discussion from
the notes.
the previous project.
Yes.
Yes. So that's something, it would be a timing issue. I mean, if that lateral was extended to the site and it was available, it is more of a gravity line for us.
Mhm.
So that would be advantageous for us. It would
You're really
be-
not adding personnel here. It's just a
Yeah, it would, yeah.
extension for an office space.
Oh, yeah, and as far as the adding the usage, there would be no increase in usage, but having an available sewer would be advantageous to the project to tie into.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Liss. Chair will recognize Mr. Barley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're
So
welcome.
right now, you guys don't have any plans on going into that, extending in?
At the moment, because we've had some real preliminary discussion, but as of right now, there's not a sewer for us to tie into.
Okay.
But like I said, it would be, I'm sure, advantageous to the site if that were to occur.
All right, thanks, Mr. Chairman. No other questions.
You're welcome. Chair will recognize Mr. Borkowski.
Thank you. I have no comments.
Thank you. Chair will recognize Mrs. Brill.
I have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair will recognize Mr. Eckert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the parking addition. I do understand that's a conflict from the fire marshal. When he sees cars parked up alongside the road, he's worried about access. So that is a great fit. Is the entire western fenced in area, is that like an outside, just an outside lawn area that's fenced in?
Yes.
Is that all
Yeah.
going away, or will that be reconstructed after the building addition?
Just a portion of the fence would be, it would extend.
Right.
This is the whole fence area here. So we would lose this. For the addition, and the rest of the fence would remain.
So that area stays the same regard, or barring the addition of the building?
Yes.
That's will go back to that new building. Good.
Yes.
Okay. Nope, that's it. Looks great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Eckert. The chair will recognize Mrs. Reynolds.
I have no comment, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you.
The only thing I could ask, just so we have your spelling and companies right, if you guys would kindly sign the sheet over on that table, we would greatly appreciate it. If you
Sure.
have business cards,
Yep.
leave those as well. Thank you.
Okay, sure, we can do that.
Mr. Mistrella, anything, sir? Thank you. Mr. Martin?
Just seeker, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Seeker review indicates the action under consideration is an unlisted action as per section 617.7 C1 VIII. The Henrietta Planning Board, as lead agency, has determined that the proposed action described below will not have a significant effect on the environment and that a draft environmental impact statement will not be required. The action under consideration is a site plan application by Mary Carriola Children's Center. It is an unlisted action and will not require a condition negative declaration. The purpose of this application is for final site plan approval for an 812 square foot addition and renovations to the existing residence building located at 5861 East River Road in a rural residential zone district. All relevant areas of environmental concern were identified. Evaluation and examination were carefully made in relation of the existing conditions versus the proposed site improvements. It's been determined that there will be no adverse environmental effect as a result of the proposed action. So I, James Gruner, therefore make the motion that we make a negative declaration and that the chairman be authorized to sign the statement of environmental significance. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Mr. Eckert, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Abstain?
Abstain.
The opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The motion carries. We have seeker. The chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Thank you, Mrs. Brill. Do I have a sufficient second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Barley, thank you. Oh, it's list. I'm sorry.
Throw out my voice again. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Thank you. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Abstain? The opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mike, there's some additional comments.
Mike, good to see you again.
You too. Good to see you.
Okay, next on the agenda, application number 22-014, Splash Car Wash Incorporated. This is for final site plan approval of a proposed 5,300 square foot car wash located at 935 Jefferson Road. This is the former restaurant at the southeast corner of Jefferson and Clay Road in a commercial B1 zone district. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. My name is Ed Martin. I'm an engineer with DDS. I'm here tonight representing the application before you. Also in attendance is Jeff Arnold, owner and operator of the car wash, as well as Jeff Ledoux, who is the architect of record, and he's putting up displays now. I'm sure the board is familiar with the site. It's 1.9 acres at the southeast corner of Clay Road and Jefferson Road in a B1 commercial zoning district. Historically, it's been operated as Bar Louie, and before that, the beloved Bugaboo Creek. The applicants wish to demolish the existing building out there and construct a new 5,400 plus or minus square foot car wash that's reflected in these renderings. All existing utilities will be reused. While soil disturbance exceeds 1 acre, we are reducing total impervious by over 25%. I think we're in the 34% range. So what that means is a DEC permit for stormwater discharge is required, but the green infrastructure is not required. Your town has an added requirement to reduce runoff rates by, is it 20%, Chris? Can you?
That's correct.
20%, which we are complying with. The access points will somewhat remain but be modified. We're eliminating the inn on Jefferson Road, so that will be a right out only, and all access into the site will be off of Clay Road at the southwest corner. We did receive comments, and one of them pertains to that. We're prepared to make modifications to that to satisfy the fire marshal. The remaining comments that we have received to date are what I would call technical in nature. We see no showstoppers. And so with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, we'll start this now. The Chair will recognize Mr. Eckert.
Thank you, Mr.
You're
Chairman.
welcome.
I'm seeing, so these are different facades than we've seen before. We have not seen these pictures yet. Okay, I guess I don't recall seeing the two clear.
I think we just had paper printouts. I don't think we had the.
Yeah.
The preliminaries, the final, Jeff, the final probably left.
I didn't recall seeing those clear cupolas or clear. Can we go a little bit more into the facade? I guess if I could ask you, and that's not the stem of my question, but the I don't recall seeing those two glass facade structures. Which so I'm looking at the north exit point, and then what would be the western facade in that picture, right?
Sorry. I got it.
That's okay. Yep.
Yeah,
That's the
this is
south and the
entrance
west.
side, Southwest,
That's the
and that is the exit
Okay.
side.
So what are the clear glass structures
They're-
north and south?
They're just an element that we've developed for the prototype that basically gives height to the building for, approaching vehicles. So it's sort of an identity marker for the, and they've always had some form of a tower element to them. It's sort of evolved with, at this point, with these renditions, but and we do towers at each end primarily to balance the length of the building out. So you have an element at the front and the back. So it's basically just to give height to the building. It's also utilized as a sign element as well. They would apply, they have their splash logo would be, that's a location where in the past they've utilized.
Is on the glass facade?
That's correct. Yep.
And so the inside that.
So
building-
basically at night there's a glow to it. So it has sort of again, it's really for an identity element so that along the road is approaching vehicles. You'll see that it's a common element with car washes. Delta Sonic uses them. It's a similar for basically.
Yeah, I guess I'm not
just-
sure I've seen them glassed and lit. I mean, even the Frontier car wash that we just approved too had, I think, a structure, but it wasn't lit. Huh?
How tall?
Yeah, was my next question is how tall is it?
They're 34 feet. The tallest one is 34 and the smaller one is 32.
Okay, so I have some just concerns on how that's going to be lit. It doesn't mean it can't be addressed going forward, I guess. Driving by, nobody wants to be looking at bulbs.
Yeah, it's not it would be a soft glow. It's not intended to, it's not like a beacon of light necessarily. It's just enough so that it sort of separates, Okay, yeah.
Jeff Arnold, representing Splash Car Wash. So, we have these, what we would call, I guess, a tower type glass feature. It's kind of symbolic of Splash Car Wash. All the Buckman sites that are getting renovated all have the tower type applications in it. The most recent build was a new one out in Geneva that has it. They're soft LED lights mounted down below at the floor level that basically just create a soft glow at nighttime. There's no lights shining per se out of the building. We're not, you wouldn't know there's a light there. You would just see basically a glow. It's more of a feature to catch somebody's attention and say, hey, it's unique, it looks good, it's a sharp look, to draw them to the symbolism that it's a Splash Car Wash. It doesn't look like, Delta Sonic has their kind of a unique look, Royal has their kind of a unique look. And this is kind of the Splash Car Wash.
So
look
aesthetic
going forward.
versus functional, really. It's
Right. And
yeah.
there's no occupied spaces up there. they do make it very friendly for us is during the build process for heat type sources, running ductwork, furnaces and type in that, but there's no office space, there's no mechanical spaces for the most part. There's an access port to it, to the towers is all. Did I answer that to everybody's best?
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know as if the town has fared well with these types of architectural elements before. I know that we've had, like Patrick Pontiac, had them turn them off. They were, because the Methodist Hill over the hill, people came in and the bulb was shining at them, even though they thought the building was going to be low.
I think that's
We
the
have-
difference though. They were shining lights. These lights are
Right.
gonna be down low
Well-
and just retracting light from below.
Yeah, I mean, I can,
Soft LED, what color temp are you referring to?
it's basically it's a light, typically a bluish purplish and white and
Yeah, but
clear.
there's a color temperature spectrum to LEDs. Do you know what color temp they're referring to?
I-
3,000? Okay, so again, just for future, we may have to take a look at this after they're built and I get to actually see what they are and go from there. My thought right now also is the 4-story hotel room that's to the south that's looking down.
Yeah.
So.
And we, again, whatever you want us to do to work with the town to make it appealing, I think we could go out there and look at it at nighttime when we get it, and we could, they're based on a real estate, Mr. Director, as you well know, that this new lighting systems aren't like turn a switch on anymore, right? We can ramp them up or down, and we would make sure the town's satisfied, or not turn them on. It's not like it creates kind of an attractive element to let customers know, and it's unique. It seems like it's more common than not in the construction phase of car washes anymore, but it's something that we've been doing for a while now. And but again, we can work. We'd be happy to. No, we're not trying to dictate anything here. We want to work with to be everybody's happy with this project.
But in your opinion, it wouldn't be obtrusive to somebody in the hotel across the parking lot?
Oh my,
that's- yeah.
no, the lights of the traffic coming by are going to be 100 times more stronger than the light glow that's going to come out of this building.
Okay, yeah, if we could, I guess when it gets built, and we have some sort of comment or conflict or something, we can go back to it. I guess we can take care of that then. That was the first time I don't recall seeing that facade before, so that's why it kind of stuck out to me a little bit.
I don't remember the preliminary plans, to be honest. I don't remember what we initially offered, but I thought it was a
remember
version of
something that was
this.
more like a tunnel, and I remember the blue facade on the north side, which was something that we saw.
I don't remember the towers at all either.
Yeah, so
It definitely hit. I mean, I'm not saying it didn't, but I know what we should have presented. It definitely hit towers. I don't remember what.
Okay, so some of the other questions that I had, I guess, so the western facade on the site plan, do you have a site plan there, Ed?
Yes,
Um,
not up here.
Okay,
I have it submitted to the town. I don't know if you can.
I
bring
saw
that up.
minimal sidewalk going up that western facade, and I guess I also thought that before was more or less access for people for hosing off
Floor mats.
floor mats and stuff. Is that what those doors are there? The glass
Exactly. There
arch?
are doors at the northwest corner that allow access. There's a room in there with cleaning stations for their.
Okay, so that's the corner, the northwest corner. What about the arch? Is that also a set of doors? Okay, so it's just the arch and the glass, just a facade, no entrance? Okay, so that's why the sidewalk, is there no sidewalk on that western facade? Just on the north side and then the south?
Yep, we have it terminated at the handicap space.
Correct.
So those are vacuum spaces. We do not propose to extend that down along.
So that's just grass or landscaping in between the
Both.
building and the curbing?
Yep, exactly.
Okay, good, okay. The sidewalk, I know the DOT is going to require the sidewalk through the apron.
That was commented on.
Okay. was
We're
that
not
already-
objecting to that.
Okay, do we want to mimic that? Through the clay road and,
Yeah, they're gonna clear the sidewalk through the.
that was commented not just on the state, but on ours as well.
That was-
You commented on that? I don't read your comments.
Occasionally, I get something.
Okay, then did that also come up then that curb island should be pulled back a little bit?
Correct. That is
Okay.
part of the
Okay.
fire marshal.
It was a fire marshal comment,
Yes.
not a highway?
Yep.
Okay, this looks like that if the sidewalk's gonna go through the apron, that curb island might want to be back a foot. So
Yeah, we're
gonna
gonna want to pull it back anyways, just to make a maneuver for emergency vehicles smoother. So
Great.
that whole thing's gonna modify a
Okay.
little bit.
Let's see. Are they all covered? I got the three
No.
back pads, covered spaces. It was hard to tell, or the site plan that I'm showing shows basically everything in the two parking aisles as covered.
The two center ones so there are 17 vacuum spaces that are covered right in the middle.
Okay, so steel column so that's still the same, steel column for covered structure.
Yep.
Dual user umbrella arch between vacuum spaces. Okay, so those are just a pole with an
The
arch arm.
stanchions that they're, yep, exactly.
Okay, so that's not a covered, okay, those weren't columns for covered sections. Then I also saw the three, which I think were new, at least I didn't pick up on them last time, the vac 5x12 concrete vac motor pads. I see the one on the south, and I see the one now on the east side in between the parking lot and the building, and then the one on the west side of the parking lot.
Yep, exactly. Those are the motors for these vacuums. It's a single motor that runs multiple vacuums.
Okay. I think those were an addition from the last plan that we saw as well.
Yeah, I don't know if mechanicals have been picked out yet, but I know there's typically a concern over noise with these vacuums, and I can share with you roughly 30 feet from these vacuums, the decibel level is in the range of 38, which is comparable to a library.
Okay.
So you'll have zero issue at the property lines.
38 decibels at 30 feet?
Yes.
Okay. The one on the west side looked very well landscaped already. I mean, and with a couple of trees, and I see a couple of additions.
So there's a pine tree there. Your conservation board asked that we replace that because it's leaning pretty well.
Oh, it did?
They
Okay.
did.
Oh,
Yep.
bummer, because that would have been a really good background.
Yeah,
So that conifer is coming out?
it is, but I believe it's being replaced, if not in kind, something comparable.
Yeah, but it's certainly the one that's there now has probably got a 20-foot.
It's going to be a lot bigger than, it's not the thickest tree. It's in good shape. I wouldn't call it great shape. Let's put it that way.
Okay. That's too bad though, but still have helped. So the additions, the ARs, are they, what's an AR? Is that a deciduous or?
You're asking the wrong guy.
Let's see. I don't see what AR stands for. Or is that AB? Oh, it's AB. So that's got to be the Acer rubrum. So that's a maple. So we got deciduous going north and south of that.
Yeah, and they did have some comments about that, about changing some of the plantings. Tupelo, I think, black Tupelo was some trees that they wanted us to add, add some mixture.
Okay, because yeah, I saw some good landscaping on the south one. And again, I was thinking that conifer would be existing, and then deciduous on the top and bottom aren't going to provide a whole lot of screening noise wise in the other 6 months of the
I
year.
mean, we're happy to swap out, evergreen
Well,
for
it's just- we can
deciduous.
Maybe poll or see who else. I'm not a landscaper. I'm a demo guy. But I'm just thinking it might help. But if they're as quiet as you say they are, then maybe it's not needed either.
Yeah, I think you're going to be surprised at how quiet it is. And going back to the light question, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised by that too. I remember when that car dealership went in and my house in Chili dimmed because of all the lights when they went on. And this is nothing like that. It's the other end of the spectrum, very subtle.
Yeah, and when we close, it pretty much, most part goes pretty much dark. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
there's some safety, security lights on, but it's, come 9 o'clock, it's pretty much turned off. And back on next morning.
So closes at 9?
Yeah, I believe 9:10, this one we set up for, but typically, the majority of our business is done by 7, 8 o'clock, and in the winter time when it's dark, we just don't have much business. It's pointless.
6, 7 o'clock here in the winter. Western facade, vac pads, covered spaces. So that's pretty much the comments that I had. The new elevations don't really show the covered parking area because they show the building facade, not just what the parking lot would be. So
Right.
I'm wondering to see how much that building itself or the covered lots, the structure over the covered lots would block the building. So because that's what I would like to see. So that's just what I want to take a look at too. I don't know if there's any way to, I don't know what else is there for the structure. Is it just a stick structure with steel top? Is it a V canopy type thing?
Isn't it an arch?
Yeah, it's just a steel structure with the same blue stainless steel arch canopy roof.
Going east-west?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just simply to create a little bit of shelter for people. A lot of people want to vacuum with it, sprinkle up a little bit of snow. Just, again, it's just a competitive market trying to give, our customers our best.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Record. The chair will recognize Mrs. Brill.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Everything I have has been answered and addressed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Brill. The chair will recognize Mr. Borkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
There's a lot of different comments. You did touch on Kevin Wilson's comments, the Director of Building and Fire Prevention. Everything that was a concern of his is taken care of or will be.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't have to go line by line on that stuff. I'm just looking at can you give me the outline of what you did about the traffic? Because my big concern last time was we have Clay Road being single lane coming off of Jefferson. And I'm worried about it backing up into Jefferson there. I know you guys were sharp about exit only onto Jefferson. And we got into like the stacking features and we're all good there. And I see that you put another out, so you get a left, right, instead of having a single lane. And that's going out.
So that's probably going away because of Kevin's comments.
Right.
So we're gonna have a single lane out. We anticipate the majority of traffic going north. And while Clay Road is not a state road, the state did comment on this. They're not requiring a traffic impact statement. And an interesting thing about the way this business operates, and it's not unique to this, but it's car washes in general, is they're somewhat self-regulating. They're a membership model. And so if you see a long line and you're a member, you give up, you come back later in the day or tomorrow, and they intercept traffic that's already on the road. It's not really a destination. So on the way to work, on the way to groceries, or on the way back, you grab a car wash at a convenient time for you. So both internally when the stacking is large, or if you saw any stacking along Clay Road, the majority of members will just bypass and just keep going. So it's largely self-regulating.
Yeah, and I've been good with on-site stacking. I'm still concerned about this Clay Road stuff, but.
And I think if there was a major concern from a traffic standpoint on the public right away, the state DOT would have commented on that, because I think it's somewhere in the 100 or maybe 200 or even 300 feet of one of their intersections. They look closely at, and they issued a letter. We're not even going to require a traffic impacts study.
Yeah, and that's a good segue to my other stuff. I was looking at the county's notes and they said that what did I do with them? You would have to check that you're okay. Which one of these is the county?
Clay.
Okay. So they're the ones concerned with Clay, state's concerned with Jefferson.
Actually, Clay's a town road.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. So why do we have county?
What's that?
Because we have county notes about how nothing went to them about traffic study, so we didn't need one from county essentially?
Right.
That answers my question. I was confused seeing that they were making recommendations on something that we don't
The
have.
county planning come back with that comment?
Other than that, I like the project. It's sad to see another restaurant go, but apparently they don't work there, so maybe this will. It seems like a good location, so I wish you good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Borkowski. Chair will recognize Mr. Barley.
Everybody's covered a lot of stuff today, so I don't have much. What about this engineering report where it talks about archaeological sensitivity that's there for near this site? What is that exactly?
So the state, whenever you do a seeker or state environmental quality review, it goes through a database. And if you're anywhere near a land that is historically documented as archaeologically sensitive, it might have been a settlement for early settlers or anybody for that matter, it triggers it. Now, because this site has been developed previously, what's that?
Twice.
Twice, it kind of eliminates that. If this were an undeveloped site, we would often do what's called a phase 1A and sometimes a phase 1B, which is historical record research leading to a 1B with field research to try to document anything that might be found. So this just falls on what used to be referred to as the circles and squares map.
Okay.
And so it's just part of their database. We couldn't do a field study if we wanted to. The whole thing is paved. So
Okay.
does that answer your question?
A little bit. I just want, does anybody know what sensitivity, what was around there? Anybody have any idea?
Even Seeker probably, Shipwell probably doesn't know. It's just, it could be
Yeah,
a
I mean,
conglomerate
Huh.
of things.
Like I said, it's been developed twice.
Yeah.
Both
Most-
restaurants. I mean, the site's been disturbed. You know, we have.
Most usually it's plants. There
It
could be
but They
animals.
look for other things too. They look for arrowheads.
It could
or,
be an
you know, burial
arrowhead.
sites and.
I will though,
stuff like that.
excuse me, I will note in my history of this location, it was the Steak and Ale years ago. There was a restaurant there called the Steak and Ale. My brother was robbed there at gunpoint. He was a waiter. He was a waiter, and it was a Friday night during the RIT graduation ceremonies. And they took all the tips from the waiters that night.
Oh my
But just a point of history for the historical significance of the
Right.
corner. Okay,
So
sorry.
Yeah, it's too
So,
bad.
so the mapping I referred to, the circles and squares, they're very large. They're like 1 mile diameter circles or 1 mile by 1 mile. So it may not even be on this site. You'll often find these properties that get triggered anywhere near a waterway of any kind because early settlers had, developments along those areas.
Last question. There is another car wash just opened up about probably 2 miles, not even 2 miles. Any worries about competition, Jeff?
I don't know. I think again, there are different driving patterns and maybe that one will become a splash wash soon too.
That answers my question, Mr. Chairman.
There's been conversation.
Okay. Thank you. All set.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Barley. Sure, recognize Mr. Liss.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
I like the concept that it looks like it's going to be a nice project, and I had this comment before when you came before the board. When you exit on Jefferson Road, and I noticed with the Royal Car Wash, over time, the pavement starts to break down. And and I don't know if it was responsibility of the contract of Royal or DOT, but they've replaced the road, that one section, instead of, blacktop, it's become like concrete. Because in the wintertime, it tends to break it down. And I wondered if that's something in your horizon, or if is that the responsibility of you, or is that DOT when the pavement starts to break down over time?
We definitely like all our exit lanes to be concrete. We try to do everything in concrete surfaces
Sure.
nowadays with reinforced rebar and mesh. Where it meets, our property meets DOT property, obviously, as everyone well knows, we don't have much say in it, right? So
Okay,
our goal is to get it taken care of. If it's not fixed properly, taken care of, we lose customers, obviously. No customer wants to drive through that. So it's something that in every situation, if there's a situation, we're going to work with DOT and try to do our best. But again, you're working with DOT and
sure.
it's a big
So
agency.
as I exit from that point on, of course, maybe you can tell me who would have been responsible for like exiting Royal? When the road, Jefferson Road, started to break down pretty bad there as you're leaving that car wash.
If it's within the state right away, then it would be New York State DOT's responsibility. Would they go after maybe the ownership of the Royal Car Wash to repair it? That's a possibility. But I'm sure those two agencies would hash it out.
Okay.
You know what's neat about this one is we're far enough off the road and there's a considerable distance before you get to the road. So pretty much most residual water should be off the car before it gets to that point. And I think it's just, we do our best to maintain it. And again, it's to our advantage to have it beautiful all the way
Sure.
onto the road and down the road, because if it's cumbersome for the customer or it potentially causes damage to their vehicle or something, they're not going to come to our wash. So it's something that's important to us to stay on top of as well.
I think what Jeff is saying, that his car wash is more superior than the Royal Car Wash. They don't have any of these issues that they've had.
That's
Very
what I
good.
heard.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's
You're
all I
welcome,
have.
Mr. List. Chair will recognize Mrs. Reynolds.
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Mistrella. Okay, Mr. Martin.
Just seeker, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Yes, Mrs. Brill.
Can I just clarify something, Jeff? Did you say there you are in conversation with another car wash possibly?
We're always in conversation with other car
And there's a
washes.
chance that that,
We just get a lot of calls from car washes that get built. People don't realize what they're getting into. It's just a common theme. So did we initiate a conversation? Did we have a conversation? Yes, but it's not official. It's just something that happens in our world. It's a business much tougher than people, they think you build these things. Operating them and running them is an involved process. So we bought out many car washes over the last 22 years simply because people get into it and realize, wow, this is a lot of work. I thought we just went and made money with this. So yes, we're always open to purchasing other car washes and rebranding them with our name and running them under our operations. I mean, we've been doing this for 22 years. Mark Curtis and Dan Petrell, the COO of our company, they've been, Mark's been doing this since he was 18. He's 65 now. And that's all he's ever known is running car washes. And Dan Petrell's been doing it for 30 years. So this is what they do, is run car washes and operate to the best of our ability.
would you be open to having two splash car washes within such a close proximity to each other?
See, closeness is kind of, it's really about driving patterns as much as close. Two car washes could be literally 500 feet apart on different roads and totally different traffic patterns. It's about convenience. Customers want convenience. That's why the express wash model is taken off so strongly throughout the United States, is because people now, they can just come, go, they're out in Brockport, they can stop at a wash. They're down in Connecticut, they can stop at a wash. They're in Syracuse, they can stop at one of our locations, and they have that unlimited pass that they pay, let's say, whatever they pay, $20, whichever package they get. They don't have to worry about reaching their pocket, pulling out money. They just wash, keep their car clean and nice. So it's kind of the convenience of, as we grow throughout an area of regions where people's traffic patterns are. You no longer have to be a member of the car wash that may be a mile from your house, because with each of our car washes, whether it's Go or Splash or Delta Sonic or, all the majors, you're going to have an unlimited pass and you can go to any of their locations.
And it's the one thing you can't get from Amazon.
We actually have customers that have ours and another competitors, and they're like, well, because you're here and they're here, and and they'll have two passes on it. So.
They're like chain restaurants,
Yep. Okay, so we'll move on to seeker. Seeker review, indicates the action under consideration is an unlisted action as per section 617.7 C1V III. The Henrietta Planning Board, as lead agency, has determined that the proposed action described below will not have a significant effect on the environment, and that a draft environmental impact statement will not be required. The action under consideration is a site plan application by Splash Car Wash Incorporated. It is an unlisted action and will not require a conditioned negative declaration. The purpose of this application is for final site plan approval of a proposed 5,300 square foot car wash located at 935 Jefferson Road in a commercial B1 zoned district. All relevant areas of environmental concern were identified. Evaluation and examination were carefully made in relation of the existing conditions versus the proposed site improvements. It has been determined that there will be no adverse environmental effect as a result of the proposed action. So I, James Grunert, therefore make the motion that we make a negative declaration and that the chairman be authorized to sign the statement of environmental significance. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Mr. Barley?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Okay,
Nay. Abstain?
abstain.
One abstain. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The motion carries. We have seeker. The chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to
Mr.
approve
List,
application number 22014, Splash Car Wash Incorporated for
Thank you
final
very
site plan approval.
Yep, thank you very much. Do I have a sufficient second, please?
Second.
Mr. Barley? Discussion? I should ask Mr. Mostrell, any comments, sir? Mr. Martin?
No, sir.
Discussion of the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Abstain?
Abstain.
One abstain.
I was named.
You were named,
This, not the seeker. My humble apology.
I'm sorry?
I was named this.
This,
not
okay, so the seeker, you're good. Okay, that's okay. Okay, so all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. And then we had one abstention, right? Okay, that's okay. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Congratulations, gentlemen. We'll look forward to getting our cars washed there.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, next item, application number 22-015, Masonic Care Community for final site plan approval of a senior housing community located, including 200 residential units and recreational amenities located at 856 Middle Road in a rural residential zone district. Good evening again.
Good evening again. For the record, Ed Martin with DDS. Also in attendance tonight is Michael Morris, owner and I should say a representative of the ownership group and the developer, and Ryan Kelly from RPK Landscaping. Very exciting project we have for you tonight. I'm sure you're familiar with it. It's an 89-acre parcel at the northeast corner of Erie Station Road and Middle Road. And the proposal is to construct a 200-unit senior residential development for the Masonic, known as the Masonic Care Community. It is independent living with a community center, apartments, cottages, and villas. The development will largely be private, but will be very welcoming of the public, and we can touch on that momentarily. But the entire internal roadway will be private, as will the water main, the sanitary sewer, the drainage system. We do propose a single access point to each of the road frontages, somewhat centrally located on Middle Road to the west and in the southeast corner on Erie Station Road. We have had conversations with County DOT, and initially they had requested a gated access on Erie Station. Or I should say more specifically that one of the two entrances should be gated. They have since rescinded that based on conversation with the town. So these will be full functioning ingress egress access points. You'll note extensive landscaping throughout. In the event you have questions about that, I'll invite Ryan forward to speak to that. The project obviously is going to disturb well over 1 acre of soil, so we do need to get a DEC stormwater discharge permit. We have provided the town with a preliminary report. It is not the required stormwater pollution prevention plan, but that is forthcoming. The comments received to date are very technical and absolutely no showstoppers, nothing that's going to change the ultimate design of this. From a town standpoint, there's been discussion of providing an access point to potential future either town lands or a connection to the Lehigh Valley Trail that's east of here. And we're in conversations with Mr. Martin about that. And we're happy to provide that. It would be in the form of an easement north of the development area. Again, going back to the welcoming aspect of this development, there's extensive sidewalks throughout. The Masons are very cognizant of the community that they're serving. So the slopes generally don't exceed 4%. We do have one area that right now is around 5%, which is very shallow. It's very gentle. It's 1 foot of elevation change over 20 feet. But that's done to accommodate the community that's using it. The sidewalk connection points will invite the public to enter within the development, including a trail system up around the pond, which will be located at the north end. I'm sure you're familiar with the site. It falls off to the north. There are some monuments proposed kind of north centrally, and you can see them here. They're north is to your right on this map, by the way. So there will be a Masonic symbol, kind of landscape element, and then immediately south of that will be, as I understand it, flagpoles and a tribute to the services. And that those will be connected to both the sidewalk and the trail system. And again, the community at large is welcome to use that. We did receive comments extending everywhere from the lighting to the obvious SWIP that's required that I mentioned for the DEC permit. I guess that's about it in general. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I've got a couple quick ones. Is it going to be a phased development?
It is primarily the bulk of the development is done in the first phase. What is not are what are called the outer villas. And they're here at the north end, the 5 villas at the north end, and then the 3 villas at the southwest corner. Everything else is being built within phase 1.
And total population when fully built, roughly?
Well, we have 200 units. So if you took on average 2 per, so you'd have 400.
Okay. And then as one level of care in there, the independent living, so it's senior living, not a nursing facility or a.
Correct.
Elder,
Correct.
okay. Okay, very good. Well, the chair will recognize Mr. Eckert.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, because I wanted to start off anyway. I was not able to review the plans. I couldn't open them.
Too big?
It's big.
Anybody else have that problem?
I had a little bit of a, it keeps
It won't open.
crashing. It won't open. Yeah, but on.
They're
Right now,
cumbersome,
it's
but
open.
we did submit 14 hard copies.
Which if anybody would have asked for, we would have provided. Mr. Eckert.
Electronic, if it were given.
Well, certainly if you had an issue opening it, you should have let us know and then we would have provided.
Well, it was today. I mean, I didn't know we had paper sets, or I would have asked you today. I was looking at them today.
We always have paper sets with the applications.
I wasn't able
Always.
to review. I'm sorry.
Did, let me ask the board, do we feel like we have sufficient knowledge about this application to discuss this evening? What,
I viewed enough of it to, to have some comments, but.
okay, Mr. Varley, yourself,
I'm fine with it.
okay. Matt?
I didn't have any problem.
Okay.
with it 'cause I'm on a laptop.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's, yeah, it's
Very
fine with
good.
me.
Well-
I'm just not going to be able to comment.
Okay,
Okay.
fair enough. Yep,
Thank you.
thank you. Mrs. Brill?
The questions I have are more based on, help me understand the Masonic piece of this. How do the Masons, how are they involved? I tried to do a little history of some of the other communities that are open around the country. But help me understand the relationship with the Masons and
Why don't I invite Mike forward to kind of talk about the history of that?
thank you. And Mike, if you could, Michael Morris, is it?
Morris, Morris,
And
yes.
you are,
I'm the president of the trustees of the Masonic Hall and Home.
thank you.
Actually, the history in New York goes back to like 1863. We established a care community, Masonic care community in Utica, New York. And that's currently 400 acres and home to about 500 residents. That's a complete continuum of care going from independent living, assisted living, and then all the way to full-blown, nursing facilities. That's not the plan here. The plan is really just independent living. We will be partnering with other agencies and organizations throughout the community to help them if there is additional care needed, to be partnering with those. So we're not doing a vertical integration of that here. Independent living, on the campus in the community center, there will be some Masonic lodges. You see lodges all around the area. There will be different lodges that meet there, primarily in the evenings, sometimes on the weekends. But so there's a couple meeting rooms there. With regard to the housing, it's Masons are, of course, are encouraged to live there. But like in Utica, I think it's about 25% of that campus is actually members of the fraternity or associated with that. So it's open to the community in general. It's what we've been doing since like 2019. We had we had the central facility in Utica. And so that's in the middle of the state. But we found that most of the people that are coming to that are within about a 70-mile radius of Utica. So they put it right in the middle of the state. I think it's just to make it equally painful for everybody, frankly. But so we set out about 3 years ago to establish regional Masonic care communities, or these independent living things where we can provide these kinds of services and living accommodations around the state. We have this one, which we're developing in Henrietta. We also have another one in New Rochelle, which is about 20 miles north of Manhattan, and looking for others as well. But Henrietta so far is really the furthest along in terms of our planning.
So there's other senior facilities that are affiliated with different churches, if you will. Episcopal Church Home comes to mind, Jewish Center or Jewish Home.
Mhm.
They have chapels and things like that on site with their faith. And based on some of the research I did, the Masons are not affiliated with religious sects.
That's correct.
So if you could, where I was kind of going with an understanding of it, are there going to be meetings on this site? You're going to be, there's discounts and things like that if you're a member and you're going to be inviting them. You said there's 20% residency in some of the other locations. What is going to be going on in this location that would center around the Masonic? Help us understand. what that is all
Well,
about.
there's in the community center, there's going to be a Masonic section, which is it's really meeting rooms. It's comprised of there'll be two different meeting rooms, and they're you see the square and compasses in a lot of different towns around. So that it's meetings. It's a fraternity. It's not religious based, although it is does believe in the one central being, so but it's not, it's open to all different religions. So it's not a religion at all. It's a
secretive,
fraternity.
though.
What's that?
It's very secretive, and you have all these secret handshakes and all these.
Well,
secrets. So I'm concerned about what's going to be going on this.
Yeah.
facility.
Actually, if the biggest secret is probably that there's no secret, I mean, you can find anything on the internet, frankly, and actually things that are that are not so good. So I can direct you to some websites, but it's
I read the things that weren't so good. That's why I'm so
Yeah.
curious.
yeah, no, anyway, there's just nothing. There's meetings, they raise funds, they support charities, they support their members, widows and orphans. That in this case, if there's a Mason that's in need and help, we will subsidize their accommodations and help them that way. So, yeah.
If I might jump in, so there's no, if I choose to live there, I don't have to pay money to the group if I don't want to. I don't have any rules, I mean, rules to follow, but nothing that the Masons set up that I have to adhere to,
No,
anything like that. It's
No.
just, I can get an apartment
It's-
there, or I can get one across the street.
it's an
and-
independent living thing. There's no, it's just what's happening around a lot of the cities and things is that you see the Masonic lodges and a lot of the activities there is just supporting that building, that the roof goes bad, and then so you spend, so this is a fraternity and they're in the people business to be helping people in the communities. And so this is an area where this is an opportunity where the different lodges could sell that space and then use this facility. So it's kind of a center, a common area that multiple lodges could use.
The different organizations around town would be able to rent or lease the space for different events.
Yeah, pardon me. In the community center, we have an area, we call it multi-purpose area that could seat up to 200 people. It will have a stage, and so it would be suitable for corporate events. It would be suitable for weddings. It would be suitable for theater, community theater, said music. So yeah, we're hoping to actually do that, to bring the community into the campus and be a source of revenue, frankly. Revenue. You know, and as a fraternity, we're a nonprofit, we're a 501c3. We're not motivated by profit. Here we're just, as long as we don't want to lose money, but it's not a real profit motive there. This is a service that we're providing.
How do the Masons make money out? Like you say, it's not for profit. You're not driven for profit. What drives?
Well,
I just don't understand. Sorry.
yeah, it's a fraternity that takes care of its members and their families and contributes to the community. So it's there is the one thing that sets the Masons apart, if you will, is there is a ritual that's there's degrees that you go through. It's a philosophy. It's a learning the philosophy, and it's taught by principles of architecture, but it's really teaching the basic core values of that are important to live a wholesome life. So, and I can, if you like, I can point you to some very good websites that really tell you a little bit more what it's about. But it's there are certain core values: devotion to God, devotion to country, integrity, those types of things. So
Conflicting information on what the G stands for.
G.
Geometry or God, but it's.
Yeah, so a lot of the lessons are taught with geometry, and so yes, it's both.
Take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Brill. The chair will recognize Mr. Borkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
And Mrs. Brill, I've done extensive reading on this. I'd love to do it over dinner or something with you. But I'll fill you in on the pros and cons, but
Thank you.
to the gentleman's point, a lot of it's actually vilification over the years because of secret societies and all that kind of stuff, but it's actually really neat history. We can get into that. I would say this is a pretty big plan. I was surprised to see something this large come for final, because sometimes we get some concept and all that neat kind of stuff just to like mill it over. So this coming up as final is a little daunting because of the scope of the project. Also with all the notes, I mean, instead of nitpicking line by line items, Chris, how are we feeling about this coming in as final? And
Well, that's a good question, Matt.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly it's a very large project. We haven't really seen a magnitude like this and you know, since in a couple of years, like Lehigh mixed use was also a big project, but there were a lot of technical questions, a lot of comments, which of course the applicant's engineer will have to address before we'll sign off on the plans. You know, as far as big comments, you know, I like to talk things, you know, about the sidewalk. You know, there's a sidewalk provided along Middle Road. You know, obviously from a town standpoint, we would want to see that dedicated, and that also gives us the maintenance of it, but it gives us the ownership, which is important too.
and I
there's
noticed
some
that they have it on Middle, but they don't have it on Lehigh. Is that something we want?
Erie Station.
Erie Station, sorry.
You know, I'm trying to remember from the town board meeting that we had, what some of the conditions were, but we wanted to try to bring some of the public that, to answer your question, no, I don't think Erie Station have a sidewalk along Erie Station was a requirement. If it's something the board wants to think about, then, you know, by all means, but I think what we were trying to do was to get the people from, you know, the hamlet of the intersection of East River Road and Middle Road, a safe place to walk. And certainly this community provides that. And it provides a means of that sidewalk to get into the community. But there's, you know, I guess the board will have to take the temperature of, you know, what they think based on the comments and, you know, getting a good sense to review the plans, because it was a rather large set.
Are you amicable to the idea of a sidewalk on Erie Station as well? Part of your plan is awesome because you've got this outer loop, this inner loop, you've got walking everywhere. But in this one case, you've got it going up and just stubbing as opposed to creating one more loop that could take you through.
So I would leave that to Mike to answer, but I will say this, that, you know, to date, having worked on this, I've never worked with a client that strove for excellence in every single aspect. I made a comment to him in particular in regard to this rendering early on. I said, listen, before we share this, listen, this is going to be a matter of public record. You show all these trees. He said, show it. That's what we want. And, you know, going back to the 4% slope, that's not easy to do on this site. So there's very expensive engineering to go into that. So I'll leave it to Mike to answer, but the question becomes, where does the sidewalk end? Because it goes to nowhere, and then it sits there for years and years and years before any other land gets developed, and then this becomes degraded, and you have new sidewalk connecting to it. So I'll leave that to the board and to Mike to decide. It's not really an engineering issue for me.
Mike, what do you think about that? So for instance, you've got the sidewalk on Middle Road, but on Erie Station Road, there's nothing there. But if you were to continue that, so if you just kept it going to the next entrance, you'd have a sidewalk from entrance to entrance, creating yet another loop of walking.
Great.
Otherwise, if they go out in there, I mean, really, they'd go up to that intersection, stop and have to turn around and go back if that's the purpose. I know that you've got a lot of landscaping there, so it would affect that. I like the landscaping. I also realize that's not an inexpensive thing to do. But you're so close. It seems like you're missing just this little thing that would make it all like a.
Well, in some of the meetings with the neighborhoods, neighborhood associations and local neighbors, they were really promoting the sidewalk along Middle Road.
Yeah.
And so I hadn't really had that press to date. And so it's a fairly long stretch.
Yeah.
It is.
Down Erie Station. It's fairly
Yeah.
Going down that,
Another concern is this, and I know I'm not trying to spend your money here. I know that that's a big cost. So I understand that, and I can empathize with that. However, it's not just to complete yet another loop inside your development. If something happens below that, the east side of that, or heck, even the west side, we've got these things that are connecting it to new developments or whatever happens in the future. If we leave that out, all of a sudden we have a dead spot.
So therein lies a challenge. So you mentioned from the intersection to our connection point. So then would we then go all the way to our east boundary? I mean,
Gotcha.
you kind of have to,
Yeah.
right? Because you couldn't ask the neighboring property when it develops.
Right.
So now we're talking about a fairly significant cost. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about it offline.
yeah, I guess we're open for discussion, but
Yeah.
we hadn't time to do that.
Yeah.
We were addressing the neighbor's concern about having access.
Chris, what would the town thoughts be on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, during the neighborhood meetings, we did talk about the Middle Road sidewalk, but nothing along East River Road, I'm sorry, Erie Station Road. And, you know, going that way every once in a while, as I live out that way, number one, I don't see a lot of people there, but number two, the grades do drop off significantly when you get, you know, closer to the river there. Not the river, I'm sorry, to the east. Because I think there's a water main, that substantial water main that comes through there. So from the town's perspective, I would rather see the sidewalk on Middle Road like they have it. Much as I'd like to have another sidewalk, I don't think it'll be used that much, Matt, to be honest. But again, you don't ever know until you build it.
Yeah, and that is a considerable slope, comes here at the top of the hill and then going down. I can see people start rolling. Yeah, right. No, they do.
I
They
just
do.
think it'd be hard to make the connection between the two sidewalks unless you were like really along the side of the road.
Okay.
And, you know, you'd almost want to kind of pull it away from the road for safety reasons.
Okay, it was just an idea. And I understand that would be very cost ineffective, so I don't want to break you. There's a lot going on here. I am a little worried that I was the only one able to open this on a computer, so people didn't, there's a lot of information here. I don't know if I feel comfortable moving forward on a final with the rest of the board not really having time to parse the information, but I'll defer to my cohorts here. That's all I've got. Thanks. And
Thank
by
you,
the way,
Mr.
it's a great location. It's great. I think what you've got here is beautiful. So don't get me wrong there. I just don't think people had enough time to kind of look at this for what it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Borkowski. The chair will recognize Mr. Barley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
You're not the only one that can open it. I did open it. I can't see it yet. But it is a lot of information, a lot of stuff to pass just on one flyby. I do remember talking about this coming in at the town board level earlier. And you guys, are you doing any laterals up for water and sewer for continuing that up? Can you kind of talk about that?
So the water main is out there already. There's no
Mhm.
reason to really provide, to extend it any further. We are putting in a pump station at our northwest corner.
Mhm.
And in discussions with the town board, the town board said, let's look at the possibility of extending it. So there were really two options. We either make one major run through the development public, in other words, the town would own and maintain that to give an opportunity to extend along Erie Station, or and this is what we're proposing, to take it to the west side of Middle Road and provide a stub there to where it could be extended along Middle Road, either, well, it'd be extended southward.
In your neighborhood meetings, did the residents talk about being excited about those laterals first?
I didn't attend those, so I can't speak to that. I don't know if Chris, were you at any of those?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the topics that came up, was to try to get sewer to the to the Middle Road and Erie Station Road intersection. There is a section of sewer that does go through the development that you could get to, the bottom of the hill or middle of the hill that could pick up the telephone and then another couple of residents. We'd almost prefer that option as opposed to bringing something along Middle Road, because right now the plans don't show that.
It does show a stub to the west side of Middle
It
Road.
shows the stub to the west, but it doesn't show it going all the way up to the hill to Erie Station Road.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So obviously, we want to try to get sewer to those residents, as cost effective as possible. So, I mean, there's a way to do it. If the property on the other side of the road goes on the west side of Middle Road, then yeah, there's a possibility of bringing another means of sewer up there, but the land would have to be rezoned to do that to industrial and other things, and I don't see that happening in the near future. So I think we would really try to pursue to extend it to Erie Station Road as much as possible. Well, you'll see that in the marked up plans.
I saw it in your comments too. I just thought we would talk about that further because I
Yeah.
got a different impression at the town board meeting. I thought it was an either or. The town wasn't leaning at the time, but clearly you have a preference, so we can certainly talk about
I
that.
think more the thought was to try to bring the sewer itself all the way up to Erie Station Road,
Gotcha.
and
Okay.
not just across Middle Road, all the way up.
Gotcha.
And I'm sure that's a significant cost to do something like that.
Yeah.
If I can jump in real quick, just because I was privy to some of those conversations. Again, I think it was whether they wanted, the town board was looking for sewer going up the west side of Middle or the east side of Middle, and I think the west side would have made more sense down the road. So
Yeah.
just a stub across the road, at least for now, because Middle Road's planning to be reconstructed.
Yeah.
But the dedication out to Erie Station was also, but you can double check the notes on that. I'm going to add to this, though, that part of which I don't think it was incentive zoning, but I don't think you needed it here for density. The force main that's going north on Middle Road turns from force main to gravity, and we can pick up the houses on Middle.
Okay.
This is
Yep.
north of the thruway.
North
So that's
right.
kind of a separate project,
Okay.
even though it's kind of tied into this. It's my understanding the pump station and then the offsite sanitary sewer is going to be installed by somebody else.
Correct. It's
So-
it's related, but handled completely independently.
Correct.
Yeah.
There are two of the houses that I think would have to tie in via a pressure system because it would still be under force main going up the hill. But at one point, I forget how many, but the majority of them, at one point, this force main turns back to gravity as it hits the crest and goes back towards
Yeah.
Lehigh.
Okay.
The house is there, even though the sewer would be on the other side of the road. We were talking to the county again to the reconstruction of having laterals installed or something so that they have that ability to connect sewer.
In our sewer plans, the offsite sewer plans do include Y connections at the appropriate points along the route for those homes.
Good.
Yeah.
Will there be any Comida subsidies for this project?
No.
No? Any subsidized housing at all for this project? Nothing like that?
No.
What are the size of the units that you're putting in? Give me some idea about that, maybe, Mike?
The apartments, I don't have the square foot, but it's 1 2-bedroom apartments.
Okay.
Some most with dens, porches. that
Okay.
type of thing. There's 64 apartments. In the villa, and then there'll be, outside parking. It's not covered parking. It's not covered. The villa units, there's going to be 10 units in the villa. Those are default 2-bedroom
Okay.
apartments. It's on the order of 1,700-1,800 square feet in the apartment. And they will have a single car garage available.
Okay.
And then the cottages, 2-bedroom, 2 different kind of layouts, and 2 car garages. 38 of them.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. I don't have any other questions. I'm not really ready to vote on this project. I think it's something for me, and listening to everything else that we need more information and kind of tie up some things. But thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you,
too,
Mr.
Mike.
Barley.
Yeah.
The chair will recognize Mr. Liss.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome.
So do you have any renderings yet of what the buildings will look like, or the?
We do, an entire submission was made to the town, but I don't know if we can pull it up online.
If you have a flash drive, we could do it.
I don't.
Yeah,
So-
unfortunately, Heather's not here tonight, and she's the one that
So
takes care of a lot of this.
while the board's seeing this kind of for the first time,
Yeah.
this is like 2 to 3 years in the making.
Mhm.
And, clearly it looks like we're leaning towards a table here, so we can easily provide those renderings. And I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. They're very, very nice. Let's put it this way. When we went through the town board, the neighbors were very concerned about their view northward of the city. And the renderings that were done not only satisfied them, they actually endorsed the project. The neighbors were thrilled. So again, I think you're going to see that every detail's been worked out. It's just that you haven't had the time to absorb it all.
Right.
There is a lot of information here. Yeah.
And I'm sorry if you covered this already, but these are rental facilities, not, or these are for,
Yes, it's rental or lease. It's not an entrance fee. We're
not an entrance fee.
not-
okay. And approximate rental fee, rent rates for these particular units? What would they?
Again, I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, but they'll be comparable to what we're doing. in
Market.
Utica. And it's not just, you can't just say it's a monthly rent. Okay, it's monthly rent, then there's utilities, there's maintenance, there's meal plans, there's, you have to go down the whole.
Okay.
Okay.
Wellness centers or exercise. So it's all part of that.
Okay.
And I'll say it's comparable to what's being done in Utica right now. And they have, currently it's 98% occupancy.
But Utica is a skilled nursing facility, is it not?
Well, it's independent living, assisted living, and then the nursing. facility.
But this is not planned for this. Skilled nursing is not for this.
The independent living is what I'm talking about.
Gotcha. Okay. Right. And the recreational facilities will be, can you run down just what would the swimming pool?
Well, actually, we're not thinking about a swimming pool right now. We're in conversations, had some introductory conversations with the YMCA and thinking about providing connections with the YMCA that way, providing some services. But it would be yoga, gym fitness type things.
Sure.
Pilates type, those types of.
Yeah. All right.
We're kind of enamored with pickleball and a pool at some point.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We're mostly indoors.
And I'd really like to see it. Can you show us on the map where you might tie into the Lehigh Valley Trail?
I'm sorry, tie into the.
Into the Lehigh Valley Trail there, isn't it? That
So
flows
this is
along?
roughly where the pump station is. Again, north is to your right. So
Yeah.
somewhere up in this area in coordinate or integral to the access to the pump station will be an access drive coming off of that will allow the town to extend it north of our pond across the north boundary to get over to that Lehigh.
And that will be the town's responsibility to do that, or they would?
Yeah, we'd have to work something out, but yeah, the town certainly really wants to push this place for additional parking for the trail and of course, access.
Okay.
So we're happy to provide an easement. That's not a question at all.
There will be a church on this property?
No.
No? Oh, I thought from a rendering, oh, the community center just resembles a
Yeah,
church building. I
the,
see. Okay.
This is spire there, that's the Masonic Lodge section.
Very good. I think, it's a great use of this piece of property, but I'm sure my thoughts with, as Mr. Barley had suggested, I don't know if I'm ready to vote on it yet, but I think I'm looking forward to seeing it come to a conclusion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you,
That's
Mr.
all I-
List. I've got one question, Mike. You mentioned a meal plan. So if I'm a renter there, am I obligated to
No.
pay for a meal plan or no?
No, it's a menu, you can do. There's different levels, right?
I can pay for the sport fitness center or not, or
Yeah,
pay for, okay, I'm sorry.
Or not. Some of the cottages, they're gonna have. They may not want.
Okay, but there's gonna be a central dining facility that, yep,
There's sort of a bistro area.
yep, okay.
Dining facilities. Go out here, but this area right in here, there'll be dining facilities being able to look out across toward the north.
Okay.
Like the old college days. Welcome to the dining hall.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the chair will recognize Mrs. Reynolds.
I have no questions.
No
at this
questions,
time.
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mrs. Brill, did you have anything else?
I did have
Okay.
another question. When somebody mentioned Lehigh Trail, it reminded me of something. So currently, on the northeast corner of this property, there is a bridge over a creek of some kind that is managed by a local snowmobile club. And they currently ride through the northern part of the property to get onto that bridge to access some trails that are to the east. Will they still be able to ride along that part of the property?
It'd be through here.
Yeah.
It's in the northeast corner. It doesn't affect your development.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's the flood.
It's in the floodplain,
Floodplain.
but there's a local snowmobile group that I guess maintains a bridge over the tributary that's just east of our property. It's probably something you want to talk over with your attorney.
Yeah, I don't.
And I don't know who owns it and if they're.
Trespassing or,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. but I
That's the
know-
first I've heard about the snowmobiles, frankly, but they go back over in here.
Yeah. There's a little bridge that they maintain right in the
Seen
corner
these
there
little
over some
rhythms on my
type of a
computer.
creek. Must be Red Creek, it must be,
It
I'm
is.
guessing.
Yep.
And I just heard the Lehigh Trail, so I thought I would ask that.
I know they come up across the 390, they come 390 up, what would be like Cully's property, I think on the south side of Erie Station. I didn't know they crossed and came to this one, but if they came down Middle Road, they could use the town access road,
And they come down middle on the
west side.
west side, and then they cross in two different sections. And then they go along the northern, kind of where that pond is now, quite frankly, and make it over to where the Red Creek is, and there is a small little bridge that they.
We would enhance that bridge. I mean, if we're granted access, the piece to the Lehigh Valley Trail is separated because of the creek.
Right.
So we would need an access, where to the trail from the parking lot or whatever we put in infrastructure wise to the town. If they could utilize the road that we put in that bridge, then I guess that's the first time I've heard of it too. So it's good to know.
That's on the southern property. That's Bruce Hallett. I believe.
64. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if some of that if the Masonic Home is purchasing some of that from him. I don't know if that's.
No, we are in discussions though about perhaps have some community garden areas. So it's right in this area here. So that's something that, above and around.
Raised planters.
Raised
Yep.
planters, perhaps gardening, and have your own plot there, so.
It's interesting because the Tobys who own the property immediately to the east, there was just some type of a driveway access to right where you're just pointing to. Is that?
He's farther.
Yeah, I don't know, there's no.
Right,
driveway.
farther up, yeah.
No, I think she's talking.
Bob's here.
Oh, that's who that is.
Yeah, that's Bob
Hi,
Toomey,
how you doing?
the infamous Bob Toomey.
All set, Mrs. Brill?
I am. I have millions of questions. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Mistrell, anything, sir? Okay, Chris?
Well, just one thing. Obviously, I think we're looking for a table, so looking for this application to come back. So as far as the drawings are concerned, as you can see, they're rather a big set. And also at full size, they're 34 by 44 size set. So if any of the board members would like their own set, we could probably do a reduced set, or I could do a reduced set. So we're not using as much paper. But so I guess I'm gonna try to do an informal poll for the board to see, which board members would like a set. So that we can, when it comes back to the board, obviously, we don't have to make a dozen sets or anything like that.
I'll start,
Yeah,
Mrs.
and
Mrs.
if I
Reynolds, would
could,
you-
if I could add on
Yeah.
that too, if there's information you're looking for or not interested in, we could kind of combine it. Because what we do is, our goal is to give constructors the plan set to build from. So, but your perspective's a little different. So we can do a supplemental drawing set that helps you make your planning decisions, but isn't used for construction. So for example, you probably don't care about the pipes in the ground. Maybe you do, maybe you don't.
Profiles, details.
Right.
Well, I know Craig does, but he's.
Of course you do. Yeah.
Yeah, these are spectacular. If we could send these in a PDF, that'd be great. Do we have these already?
The town does have those. They were to the town board,
Oh,
but
town
not
board,
to the planning
yes.
board. Yeah.
Is it helpful to go on to see your facility in Utica online? I'm online here to look at the places that you have, like the Waterside Cottages, Acacia Village. Is that a good,
Does that
reference
represent what's
point?
going in
Yeah,
here?
the cottages are kind of similar.
Okay,
We started with 8 cottages there, before we started marketing.
all right.
Yeah.
Just a good something to reference to see the quality of what you do. Okay, all right, thank you.
So as far as the
So,
board members. who
Yeah,
want a reduced
Mrs. Reynolds,
set,
would you like a set of
Would.
what they get? Yep. Mr. Eckert, you're going to get a full set yourself.
Electronic, please.
Yeah.
So I would provide you a flash drive. I mean, I don't.
I'm sure we've got them in the office.
So I have no problem providing a flash drive. That's what I would rather see.
Okay.
Mrs. Brill?
Eddie?
Absolutely.
I would.
3,
I would
Four.
also.
I would too. Yes, please.
Okay.
6. But they could be a reduced set. You don't. need
Yes.
a full-
We don't want those.
I don't need any hard copy.
You know what, I don't want these to go to waste, so I'm happy to take one of these. So we don't have to print more and waste these, so.
Yeah, we just really like the elevations and, some of these color renderings and stuff that it looks really sharp. So
Thank you.
Okay.
You got all that?
I did.
All right.
That being said, the chair will entertain a motion.
motion to table,
Table, Mr. Workowski.
second from Mr. Burley.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. And abstain. Okay, motion carries. We have a table. We'll see you folks hopefully next month.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yep, appreciate it.
It is a very exciting plan. It looks sharp, just
It
need a
does.
little bit more time.
Sure. Understood.
Michael, are you on site? Where do you actually reside?
I'm sorry.
Where do you reside?
Well, I lived in Victor for 21 years. And actually have a place down in Springwater, Wayland
Okay, so
area.
you're from this area.
Yeah, I've lived there for 45 years. Professor at the University of Rochester. for 25 years.
I'm from Victor as well.
I'm not from here, but I've been here 45 years. That's almost right.
And I do go to Utica quite a bit, so I plan on I will try to get there before our next meeting so I can see that, the Utica location.
Okay.
It's beautiful. You'll love it.
Yeah, you've seen it?
Yep.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Okay, board members, do we need a break? Anybody need a break? Yes, okay.
I would just, it's just a discussion item.
It's
isn't it?
just a discussion item, but it's been 2.5 hours, so I want to,
No, come on.
Yeah, it's just a
You sure you only take the 5
yeah,
minutes?
okay. All right, Matt, come on up.
Ready to be in a better mood at all. More than happy to give you 5.
Not gonna happen. That.
So does Benderson have any secret handshakes? I think that's what we all want to know.
Do not have any secret handshakes at all.
All
No.
right.
Secret. But I do feel like I'm a member of the town, basically, at this point. I realized today, actually, it's been about 17 years since we made the initial application to Market Square. And I don't actually think we've stopped construction there really since we started.
When you putting a car wash over there?
No car washes.
Steakhouse.
I appreciate you saying they were better than Royal, but not Delta
You know,
Sonic. I
was
did
gonna say
appreciate that.
I knew you were back there and I didn't want to embarrass you too much.
But maybe
Because
they'll
it-
actually finish construction before.
We're
Delta
hoping-
Sonic
we're
does,
hoping.
whatever.
Sorry, Matt, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Matthew Oates with Benderson Development. Appreciate the board seeing us again to continue this discussion. Previously, we were back, I think it was November, December, to try to get reapproval of the 8,600 square foot addition next to Bye Bye Baby. It was previously approved in January of 2018. Again, in January 2019, we never went forward with construction and COVID and everything. Things slowed down, but we're looking to redo it. The board had some concerns with closing off that drive lane on the side. So we took 2 separate courses of action in regards to kind of addressing that concern. One, we had SRF do traffic counts and provide a traffic letter in regards to that access to provide empirical data, just kind of showing the numbers and the amount of cars that use that. They showed that there was less than 10 cars an hour that they counted that would even be using that. And in their opinion, it wouldn't have any impacts on the main Clay Road access driver intersection at all. But then the second thing we did in addition to the data is we actually closed off that entire section. We closed it off from May 4th to June 28th during the springtime when Home Depot was more active. They have their mulch and everything else. We didn't receive any complaints. I've talked to my property managers. I've been out there numerous times looking at it on Saturday mornings during peak, in the evenings. I never noticed any issues with it closed. I've asked Chris when I've seen him if he had heard anything. I don't believe the town got any calls in regards to that. I don't know if the board members were able to go out there, take a look at the condition when it was closed, if any of the board members saw any issues, things like that. But I think we've taken a few steps to try to address the concern the board has. And at this point, just want to continue the discussion, see what the board's thoughts are and see what the next steps can be so we can hopefully move forward with the board's blessing.
Well, let me just go ahead and say that, I appreciate the efforts that you took and you understood the concern that we had. And it
Yes.
sounds like you obviously took those seriously like you always do. And we
Yep.
appreciate the efforts that you took. I will open it up to discussion. Mr. Liss, I'll start with you, sir. If you have any comments or questions for Matt.
Do you have a tenant lineup? Is something going to be happening there soon?
We have interest in the space, yes. So our expectation would be that the majority of the space would be leased out when construction is done. That would be our expectation there. We consider this at this point pretty much the premier shopping center in our opinion in Monroe County at this point. And I don't think at this point there is actually any vacant space left. There might be some right at the end on the Kirkland side, but outside of that, everything is leased.
pretty filled
BJ's
up,
Brew House has taken Macaroni Grill. Sleep Numbers come in and taken the restaurant space that was at the intersection. I can't even remember actually
Be good.
the name of the company that was there previously, but
Be good.
Be Good, that's right, yes. But yeah, like things at this center in this area really go well. So we would expect most of it to be leased by the time we finish construction.
Yeah, no, other than my own personal traffic issues there around Mother's Day, but that was about it. I mean, it really, it's not doesn't seem to present a problem to me. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Liss. Chair will recognize Mr. Barley.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
Matt, you're right. This is a very beautiful plaza. Market Square is great. When I ride by, it feels like I'm out of town somewhere. I mean, it's very nice. I'm in there all the time because Home Depot's in there. I'm in there all the time because Christmas tree is there. But it's
You going
busy
Christmas
as hell. Yeah, I'm married. Gotta go on Christmas tree. Kirkland's too. You know, during the block off, I'm there early in the morning, sometimes I'm there late in the day. And traffic is a concern there, getting on the clay and getting off, as you probably kind of realize, even though the study says this. For me, that's the main concern, that if that building goes there, we're gonna have more of an issue in that plaza. I think it's built up enough personally, but you guys do a great job with the property you own there. I have no complaints about. And we just went through COVID and it's still 98% filled, which is also great, you know,
Yes.
on what we went through as a community with business. So kudos to your organization. Ministers doing a great job. I don't have anything else.
Thank you, Mr. Bartley.
Yeah.
Mr. Borkowski,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
you're welcome.
Matt, you know I don't like this one.
Yeah.
You guys do a good job, to their point. I don't think this is a good job. I respectfully disagree with your data, because I had personally been there and I even sent, I think, pictures to this board. On many occasions, people were back there, they couldn't get from place to place. This is when you cordoned it off.
Mhm.
So I didn't sit there with a counter to find out who uses that for what. I also read your document about how nobody complained. But one of my requests was to go to Christmas tree shops and say, hey, listen, we're gonna cordon that off, just so you know.
Yep.
Did you guys actually communicate
Yeah,
that
we
beforehand?
talked to our tenants about it. We let them know what was going on. We
Okay.
didn't hear any complaint.
Okay.
The only thing we heard about was some of the employees from Bye Bye Baby who just parked on the side.
Right.
That was it. But we didn't hear any issues. We didn't hear anything from Christmas tree shops in regards to trying to get to the back or anything like that. I do know that was one of the concerns. We'll work with Christmas tree shops on additional signage, things of that nature as well. But I checked with Lori Moreno, our property manager, many times. She said she didn't, like, there was no complaints or anything that she heard. from the tenants.
Honestly, that's data I can't argue with.
Yeah.
I'm very surprised by that answer, because if people are picking stuff up in the back of Christmas tree shops, which is where you have to pick up the larger stuff, I don't know how that would be convenient for them to go all the way by Home Depot, which brings up my other point. The traffic here, if people are leaving the plaza on the southern exit, okay, on the Clay Road.
Yep.
And they're trying to take a left, at times it's virtually impossible. So you'll see people diverting and going out the northern exit. And it's a lot easier to take a left turn there because they're not competing with everybody trying to get in the plaza. So I don't know how your numbers could only be that there were 10 cars going by there. I've just going back there, because I'm kind of lazy. I don't want the traffic in front. So this is a little self-serving. I'll take that north portion and just go around the back of Home Depot to go for the same reason. I'm always there,
Yep.
always. When I
So-
did that on 3 different occasions, in 3 different days, there was a tractor trailer blocking that. Now, this was spring, so they had all their spring stuff and their mulch and all that kind of stuff. But 3 different times, you could not get through that other point of egress. That's a major issue. And I took photos of it and I sent it to this board. There's huge traffic pattern issues, and this is going to exacerbate it. So I do not like it, and I will never like it. And I don't believe that data, to be honest with you. I believe that you didn't get complaints. But maybe people don't understand really why you're asking or what's going to go there, because I think you're going to get more once that's up. So that's all I have. I heartily dislike it.
Thank you, Mr. Borkowski. Chair will recognize Mrs. Brill.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have not had a conversation with Matt about this, and I too was surprised by the data because I am over there a lot. And I can almost echo what Matt said about the backups over there and the turning left. And I too have snuck in that other entranceway to go to the northernmost exit to get around. I see it backed up all the time. So when I did read that data, I was really surprised at that because I'm there so
Yep.
much personally. You're welcome. And
that was honestly, that was kind of why I thought it was good to do it, as opposed to just closing it off, actually count it, see the numbers, and just, I mean, SRF did the counts, like, I'm not disputing it. I mean, it is very low. what they came up with, what they counted. I mean,
And when you talked to Christmas Tree Shop about it, they
They-
didn't have a problem?
I was not told that there was any issues with our property management and coordinating, closing that off or anything. And we didn't close it off for like a couple days or like closed it off for a week or anything. I mean, we put it up and we
Well, I
let
remember
it
when
let
we
it sit
talked
there.
about it
Yeah.
was going to be closed.
Yes,
It wasn't closed for quite a while past that.
correct. Yes.
Because I went there a few times
Yes.
to be nosy and check it
So,
out.
so what we did was we did the counts first, then it was in the winter time. Really,
Yeah.
Home Depot's busier time in the spring. That's when we have the mulch. I also thought, let's push it off as opposed to do it in the winter time. It might be a little slower. Do it at what would really be the busiest time of the year for Home Depot. So that's why we kind of did it from beginning of May through the end of June. That is really when Home Depot probably is at their busiest, probably starting in April, running through June or July. That's when people show up. They're getting all their mulch. They're buying all their plants for the year, things like that. So that's when Home Depot would be by far the busiest, is kind of what we thought for that, which is why we picked that time to do it.
So as the manager of the property, how are you recommending to Christmas Tree Shops that their customers are going to get to the rear of the building for their pickups?
So they would be able to come out and they would be able to go around Home Depot and then
So stay within the property.
stay within the property.
proper,
Yep, go around Home
around.
Depot, then you come back to pick it up and then you can exit out that
Because I
back way.
had safety concerns. if
Yep.
they were to have to
And,
go
and
out.
we can, we'll work with Christmas Tree Shops on that one. We can work with them on, say, posting a sign on their door, also posting a sign in front and provide some directional signage
And
as well,
also-
but that would be the route.
Be cognizant of having to possibly work with Home Depot because of,
Yeah, like I said, 3 different times that was impossible to do what you just described.
Yep, okay.
So, I mean, it's probably an easy fix. Just don't park in front of that thing, but that's what they were doing, literally blocking that one place. They have 2, but they had so many pallets on one, you couldn't get through there, and then the truck was blocking the other one. So,
Yep.
I mean, it's probably an easy conversation to keep that open.
It is, and we have an REA with Home Depot. The town went through that all with BJ's approval as well. So we have all the rights to go back to Home Depot and be like, you need to clean it up, have concerns. It's issues that honestly yourselves run into, but other towns run into it well with Home Depot, with Lowe's. I mean, in some places they come out and they'll literally they'll obliterate 200 spaces, the parking field, fence it off and just go to town and do what they want. So yeah, we'll definitely work with Home Depot as well. Make sure that they're aware that has to stay open. It can't be blocked, anything else along those lines.
all said, I'm so sorry.
Very good. Chair will recognize Mr. Eckert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
As far as the town's point of view, when we were notified, I did make an announcement at our staff meeting that if, we received any complaints that I asked them to direct them to me. So if they called DPW or town hall or engineering or somebody else, I did not receive any complaints during the timeframe. I do agree with your conflicts, and I'm not opposed to that. I don't know if it just means, Lowe's. I've seen the conflicts over there myself as well. And even when he had it cordoned off, I went over and took some pictures. And back then too, there was even a tractor trailer backed up in the open space just north of there. They had blocked off. I don't know if that was a win or not, I guess, to that point. Does Home Depot utilize that outdoor parking spaces all year round? I mean, Lowe's does it for a month or two when they're spring, when they have the mulch. They drop off pallets of mulch, but they do it in obviously the parking lot space. It's not in the front or off to a side or anything that degree. And then it's gone after a little while. But every time I seem to drive over here, all those parking spaces are stored with Home Depot
It seems like it's
merchandise.
all year.
I mean, the way Home Depot, I think typically I think they start to pare down, like in the spring, everything is out there and they probably cordon off spaces for plants as well. And it starts to come down. I mean, I can find out more information. We don't own it or control it, so I don't have full information on how long they stay.
The
But-
spring is the worst.
Yes.
So that was the worst time for me to see it.
Yep.
Is there an option for that material from Home Depot to move to the parking spaces that the old in between what's the old Macaroni Grill and Home Depot? So that those aisleways are left open?
Well, so there's parking spaces and aisleways as well. We can work with Home Depot as well in regards to where they do it, because right now it seems like they kind of stack it from the building all the way over. There's
Right.
actually two there's
Right, there's
two
two
drive
drive
lanes
lanes.
there. So it'd be very easy for us to work with Home Depot and be with the REA being like,
Yeah.
this driveway probably from the building, the first one at the building would probably be the one to keep open, I would think, depending on how their operation goes, but make sure, keep one of those driveways open. So if you stack mulch in the parking stalls on the far side, that's fine. Keep that first drive lane. And we can definitely talk to them and be like, the REA requires it. So
And out of curiosity, Dan or Chris, don't we, what's the term I'm looking for here? Doesn't code restrict outdoor storage?
There is and the reason I'm hesitating is I think we've changed it over the years.
Right.
I think it used to be like the Home Depots, the Walmarts, whatever, Lowe's, they had to come in for a special use permit for any outdoor storage. But I believe it's changed over the years because every year they would come in and it would get approved by the town board.
Right, but it was a time frame that I think that they were given approval for. You know, I remember Five Below came in, I think, too. They wanted an outdoor.
Right, but I think something like a Home Depot or a Lowe's that does it continuously, I think there's some relief from that because it's associated with the business, so to speak, not the business.
I remember years past when Country Max was in Suburban, they requested some fenced area out in front of them for the spring, and I thought that was a temporary thing. They requested it. Remember? And,
I gotta be honest,
You know,
I probably have to talk to Kevin Wilson and see what his thoughts are on that.
It used to be an annual thing. I don't know what the code is calling for now, and I don't have my book with me. It's still being updated, I guess, but it when I was previously with the town as the town attorney, it was an annual thing. They'd come in, they'd give the same spiel every year, and they'd get a special permit allowing them to do it for a period of time. I don't think they have to do that anymore, but I'm not sure.
I would agree, Dan, because I've never seen that come before as a special use permit. I think maybe they have to go to the building department just to get it approved. Maybe if they're taking out the town board action, so that's a possibility. I guess I have to check with Kevin Wilson to see what the thought process is.
Yeah, because then we could limit it through there. Yeah, because I don't discount the fact that it should be taken care of. It. I mean, you know, they have a building and then they have half of their building outside of their building. Which is meant to be, you know, parking for that facility, parking for probably somebody else. I mean, you know, lots of people that use Home Depot or the new Buff City Soap, which is in the new building, that the new expansion that went on the left of that, right, in the west.
I think Buff City.
Or is that,
I'm trying to think.
is that
Buff City
nothing
Soap,
but
I'm trying to
cakes?
think where in the
Bun
building.
Cakes
They
is
might
there,
be
Buff
farther
City
down.
Buff City's
Nothing
up
but
closer
cake,
to-
nothing but cakes is there. And
Yeah.
then I'm trying to think, it's Wagner Carpets, I think, actually,
Carpet
Okay.
is
store.
what's on the end
So
cap
that,
there.
but that parking space is in that other drive aisle could be parking for any one of the other buildings.
It could be. I mean, also in just continuing the conversation, we just got a parking variance for BJ's Brew House as part of it and for that whole site.
Right.
But that doesn't take into account the 60 some spaces that are then also lost because of outdoor storage. But I don't know how the town again handles that, if that kind of goes with the outdoor storage permit
And-
and things of that nature.
And I don't discount that you've got a lot more pavement here that you probably ever need.
Mhm.
You know, it's a busy,
Of
Of course it did.
I'm glad that it's a busy site.
Is there any thought that maybe providing one-way traffic? You think you could get like?
That's what my next question was going to be. Is there any way to get a northbound through on the east side of that building? Does it have to be a fire access or can it be 12 or 15 feet?
Well, I don't believe it has to be a fire access because I'm going off of that with the fact the plans were previously approved, signed off on, and my
Okay.
understanding is it met from the building code and the fire code and everything else. We met the access with the drive lanes that were there and for access to the building. So we don't need anything per code.
So what's the conflict of moving over the stormwater?
Yep, you got the detention pond that was there. So if we did a drive lane there, we just have to build a retaining wall, kind of push into the pond a little bit and things like that, or give up square footage, which I always get yelled at for.
No, and no, the building, if the building stays where it is, I'm just looking, you know, the
Yeah.
building size and where it's located, I don't want to mess with on that. If you get a northbound through, I mean,
It's just, it's just. the
I see
pond.
the same conflicts. I just see that there's possible ways that to mitigate that, I guess, is what I'm
Yes.
trying to offer other options.
So say we went forward, we did it, we built the building, and then in 3 years, there was a massive issue. I have to go back through the original stormwater report, but I'm pretty certain the numbers were like, there was a significant reduction in overall rates. So I think we have room in that pond if we needed to, where we could put a drive lane in going north. We'd have to build a retaining wall to do it, but we could do it. So it's not like we're pushing up against a public road. There is still property there. So it would be expensive, but if it was something we had to do to eliminate an issue, we would have the ability.
And
to
I'd be
do it in
willing
the
to even
future
see
still.
something, I mean, you might want to have to put a fence off the curb line, but I go down in a one-on-one just to get away from a retaining wall.
Yep, yeah, we could come up with something. We own this. So this land, we own all of this
Right.
land there. So it would just be a matter of kind of playing with the detention pond that would be there. So it's not like we're pushing this, say, up to a 0 setback at Clay Road. And if there's an issue, there is no future anything that could happen. There would still be possibilities as
So
well.
that's my 2 cents on that. I would love to see a northbound, access point. If we could get something through there, even 12 feet, I don't know what you need, what little you can get away with.
For something for northbound like that, probably like 12, 11,
Yeah,
something like that.
again, with
Yeah.
2 curbs,
I mean,
slow it down anyway. You don't want people racing
10
through there anyway.
Honestly, if you did 10 parking stalls, 9. So if you do 10 feet, that gives you a little bit more. But then at that point, it's also really narrow. So it's going to make someone drive slow. You want them
Right.
going 5
Yeah,
to
you
8
just don't
miles an hour.
want, you don't want a box truck or
Yeah.
something getting stuck.
And you don't want it, say 15, 20 feet wide. All of a sudden, someone shoots through, they're doing 20, or it's encouraging two-way
Two-way traffic,
traffic as
that's
well.
right.
Because you could easily slap a couple do not enter signs on the backside. And if it's that small, no one at that point is going to actually go against it. So we would have that option in the future to do that as well.
The only other comment for discussion that I have is that I would, and I didn't see the facade.
I
On the
can
bottom,
pull
you have a western facade. So is that the split? That's the north face of it
So this would be the side, it's designed
from
I believe to
Clay?
kind of mimic the Nothing But Cakes addition we did. We kind of got the window up at the top and then carried that
Okay.
down to the side. This is the side facing.
Clay Road. So the only other thing that I would ask is the Best Buy or Bye Bye Baby facade now has at least like some treatments to the side
Okay.
that just, I don't even know if it's just a portrait type frame inside.
Oh,
that
yeah, I know what
CMU.
you're saying. Yes.
I don't know
The
if that
kind
could
of
be
the
mimicked
pictures.
on the second panel.
Okay.
The first panel, you're obviously already doing something with. I
Yep.
think Bye Bye Baby has 2 treatments. The
Okay.
first and second panels are treated. The second two, the third and fourth are left CMU because they're kind of tucked behind.
Yeah, they almost got like side, we could work with whatever tenant is there and kind of whatever sort of like would mimic whatever their product is or something. Like say it was Nothing But Cakes, maybe put up like artwork or something of like bundt cakes or pastries
Yeah,
or
That's
bakery
what you
items,
have there
things
now,
like
right? It's like
that.
some artwork in 2 of those panels.
Yeah, there's something, but it's more, I think it's Bye Bye Baby specific and it's more so it wouldn't make sense to pull it out for,
Oh.
because it's not,
There's
but
something
the
different.
concept,
specific to
it's the same thing Esporta has.
Yeah.
On the side, they have kind of that artwork of like
Right.
people working out or something. Yeah, we can definitely do that.
So just on the second panel.
Yep, so just
So the
on,
first panel looks great, second panel, yeah, and that's, unfortunately, consideration now that I've been kind of going to Panera kind of really torqued me off a little bit by trying to put a full CMU block wall like Jefferson. I didn't realize people would even want to try to do that, but so making it look a little bit better, which
Yeah.
this plaza does, would help out.
no, for sure. We definitely, we want to make sure the architecture and everything looks good. Like we
Okay.
very much take
This is just a
pride
discussion.
in how it,
We'll look at the back of the building and the main road.
Yeah, and Clay Road's a very busy road.
yes.
So the fourth panel is absolutely hidden behind the RG&E substation, and probably part of that third panel is as well. But the 1 and 2 here.
Yep.
These
Wish
2
that
here have some
substation
sort
would
of
go away.
treatment to them. That's the only thing I'm trying to
But
keep
you
up.
haven't bought it yet and demolished it.
I
Well,
know.
that's 4 panels there. Is that just the extension or does that go all the way back? Actually, it's probably just
That,
part
no,
of it.
so
1, 2.
that is, so let me just.
Because right now there's 5 panels on the existing from what it looks like.
This would just be the expansion.
Okay.
The expansion 125 feet deep, so that would be the expansion space.
Okay.
Yep.
So then there's another panel. There's probably more than that then. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels along the east side of the existing building. So that's what I was trying to,
Yeah, so these are smaller than the sizes on Bye Bye Baby.
okay.
So yeah, so we'll get that. We'll do second, we can maybe do second and third as well, but I understand kind of break it up and
I
get it
understand.
absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So you got my point on that.
Yeah.
Okay, those are my discussion items.
Thank you, Mr. Eckert.
So we'll kind of add that to the elevation, but it would kind of be like a TBD for like what the future like
Great.
look would be. Yep.
Yeah, maybe we can just show the frame and
Yeah.
show artwork to be determined.
Yep. Yeah, for now, we can kind of do the placeholder we have on the back of the pylon sign, like, thank you for shopping in Henrietta, and just kind of show that on those two, just to kind of to show it, and then we can play with that
That'd
in
be
the
great.
future for sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
All set? Okay, Chair will recognize Mrs. Reynolds.
I'm all set. Thank you. Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
So this is Dan, this is a reapproved of a prior application. If we wanted to modify that and somehow get some language in there that if down the road in the future, we find out there's a need for a drive lane on the east side to connect the back, how could we do that now if this is just a reapproval of a prior application?
No, tonight was just a discussion.
That's just, okay, nope, yeah, I'm looking at I had my motion in my second here. Yeah, you're right. So it's not.
It's not, so you really can't, but maybe
Make a formal, we're fine making a formal application if that would be the best.
Well, I think I'd like to get some input from, not input from the board, but where's the board leaning to right now? I mean, are you looking for like a reapproval, do you think? Or would you like to see, you know, one lane put in?
I think, well, Matt's driving this, and I think I'd like his comments on that too, if I can. I don't want to iterate too much on his behalf, but if we can see that the storage space off Home Depot is cleaned up so that that provides access. And then if there's an ability, if you want to show on a site plan, is it called like a land bank? Can we deal with an access road like a land bank situation? And then if that's the case, I don't know what the.
I think it gets into dangerous water,
I
and
don't-
certainly, Dan, correct me if I stray. You know, you're almost kind of making it a conditioned approval that if you have problems in the future, then you have to build like say a one-lane access road. I just, there's too many issues that it may not happen. And Matt, I'm not certainly taking any way.
Oh, no,
away from
I
Benderson.
I understand it
It's
gets,
just that, you know, Craig and
Yeah.
I, we work with so many different developers and most of them are really good and they would do what we want, but you know, I just have a hard time, you know, this thing being built and then going, 2 years later saying, you got to put this road in. I think it's going to be very difficult to do, quite honestly.
I don't,
Matt, what are your thoughts?
my thoughts are if they put that road in right now, I'd be okay with it. If we're talking about down the road, the same thing's gonna happen as this data that you got, which is there is no issue. So why are we putting a road in? If it went in now and we talked, and the Home Depot thing is easy. It's a conversation between you and Home Depot saying, make sure one of these lanes is always unobstructed. That's an easy fix. Putting this road in, I'd be okay with it.
so let me see if I can squeeze in a 10-foot road and we'll just build it. Road will be 50. The road,
Maybe 12 feet would be better.
we'll see what we can, we'll see what we can do. We'll have to
Well,
play with the pond a little
You
bit.
gotta
and-
plow it too.
Yeah.
Are you going to have a sidewalk against the building too? So those things you got.
I do a foot of concrete to a curb.
Yep.
Just so you're transitioning, you want to give yourself a little bit of leeway off the side. And then do a straight slope, 12, 11 feet. I don't know if 10 seems tight, but maybe 11 feet. Slope that right towards the pond. And then I would just drain it right to the pond. You may want a fence.
Yeah, no,
just so
we'll do a
people
guardrail.
or
Like, the pond is
something-
fenced now, so we'll do a guardrail and a fence just
currently
along the
fenced?
side. Yep. So we'll do,
So
okay.
I don't know if you just want to retain, like a wood, or you just want to put that chain link up, a foot or so off the pavement edge. Or if you want to do like the timber rail.
Yeah,
type thing.
I think we would want to see curved and
I don't-
again, are you putting a sidewalk against the
Well, we
building?
had a sidewalk there, but I don't really know if a sidewalk's needed because it's for employees. They're gonna have back entrances to really get there. So
Right.
there's, we just kind of had it there.
Are there any doors off the side at all?
We
the
won't,
back, or-
we won't need, I don't believe we'll need them based on code because we'll be able to do it in the back. You'll have your access in the back and onto the front. I don't think you'll need a side because any tenants in there will go front to back.
Yeah,
So
I
that'll
don't
get us
even,
there
I'm
2
not
weeks.
suggesting even curb on the east side. Let the water drain, let them plow it to the east.
Oh,
That way
you're
you're
just
not-
saying, I know what you're saying. Don't even pop back up the 6 inches for the curb along the building to protect it. 1
Let the
foot.
water drain, let the
Yup,
snow.
sheet flow, and then, yeah, guardrail,
All right,
fence.
I'd buy that.
Yeah, we can go, because I gotta find 7 feet, basically 6, 7 feet we gotta
And you
find.
gotta find
We can
some place
always-
to put the snow in the plow.
We'll do, if we plow front to back, then we're all set in the back.
Yeah, you're pushing off to the right as you go anyway.
Yeah, I think that works.
That sounds great, Matt.
The road will be, cost 25% to build it with the building than it would be and do it in 2 years anyway. So,
Yeah,
I
it
is-
just
honestly
makes
think in
sense.
the long run, you're the expert as far as the plazas go. I am the consumer who
Yep,
drives through
I-
there all the time. I
yes,
truly believe that will save you a lot of headache with your tenants
yep.
and us wonderful customers.
And honestly, my preference, I prefer leaving here. We're all happy with the project. We all like it because next time I come back, God forbid there's a problem, I will never hear the end of it. But it just, I really like the relationship we have and working. So we'll figure it out.
We appreciate your
Yeah.
patience.
Yeah,
and-
no,
and Your
absolutely.
willingness to cooperate. Yep.
And
Yeah.
your understanding.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. We'll
Yeah,
get
Okay.
there.
Splash
Thanks,
Car
Matt.
Wash is better than Delta Sonic, but.
I did hear
didn't-
one no vote though. Was that correct? I like that.
I don't know. I said
They
I'm gonna
are,
be the
they
only
are
one that
very,
doesn't get
very
free car
everywhere.
wash tickets,
They're
but-
literally everywhere, car washes, but like everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well,
It's
thank you very much. Yeah.
beautiful. I love it's a beautiful building. I think there's gonna be so much congestion. And another one, wow.
Send everyone to Delta Sonic. Send everyone to Delta Sonic.
Thanks,
Man, well, thank you very much, everybody. I'll get you, we'll work on revised plans to get that in.
All right.
Okay.
Motion
Chair will
adjourned.
entertain a motion. Thank you, Mr. Borkowski at 8:58,
8:57.
57.
Yeah, right now we.
Did
have
it change?
a-
8:57 is what I got.
Yep. 8:57.
All right.
Thank you, Dan. Yes, we're all set.
Just for, I didn't know
I'm curious about this
Look,
BJ.
I'm surprised Bugaboo lasted as long as it did, and I'm surprised that Fire Louis didn't last. So,
96, there's.
I like part of
Mine knows that. There's scribbles there.
Yeah,
There's room inside.
yeah.
Facing.
Last facade. I'm just.
Right off the road, but they have outdoor
Really
seating.
surprised.
So you know where.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're making that
Yeah,
drive.
it's a Friday.
They
The
went-
manager, Rick.
all
You're the
the-
manager. Rick.
Go around the back of the building and you have to squeeze through the
Steak and ale.
drive-through, and it's
Yeah,
right
I went to
next
Bugaboo once.
The building needs to be.
I don't remember staking it. I went to
Oh, yeah,
Bugaboo
steak and ale.
once and I never went back. My
Steak
kids
and
didn't
ale
eat the
has been
food.
set.
I'm new. I haven't seen this.
Yeah.
And I- This property, the tunnel's facing this way, not.
Just never know.
Right, but you're coming out onto.
I never went to, what was the one that was there where Jeremiah, I went there one.
And that's what, so you have to go right.
Jesus, I don't remember that.
No.
Girls
but-
with little
but
short
I-
outfits
and
on.
Next, I have a question.
Oh.
So Erie Station,
Okay, so
Cheers
what's
or
that?
something, cheerleaders or.
Yeah, right.
As this started.
Who wasn't any good, it was expensive. And I said, I don't.
Your plate?
I'm never coming back.
All right. Thanks for coming, man. I appreciate it.
Later, man.
Is Dave shooting for it?
Here.
I think so.
Okay.
So
I like Dave.
So is Patrick Riley. He was running for town board in Brighton. He's there.
Time to go.
Okay.
Go get some meat. What are you gonna do?
Oh, yeah, no Pat. I know Dave. I like Dave a lot.
But yeah, the pool probably feels pretty.
Erie Station Road,
Yeah.
Middle, Masonic, Toby's house. blah, blah,
No,
blah.
yeah, Toby's down further.
But here's the.
Yeah, I do.
Horseshoe.
Where's Marcy? Marcy, thank you.
Yeah, Wendell and Pulteney, yep.
What is going on here? The town, I
She
saw you
is,
standing there one day ages and ages ago, and now it's sort of kind of got gravel on it.
Okay,
What's
so-
that all about? And there's like it's a hill that goes up here.
Roger that. So I am trying to make that a sledding hill, similar to Mendon Ponds.
Are you serious?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sledding hill. So the DEP
That's literally what that parking that,
That is an open piece of land that the town, that the legacy gave to the town. We were doing nothing with it. I tried to put solar panels on it. Back when Jack was here, I actually set up what was called the PPA, and the town could have had a 2 megawatt system and been completely on solar. We would have not had a single electric bill due to the 2 megawatt system. That got turned down by Jack. And so
That's
that
for
parcel's
another.
been sitting open. So it became as a hill as it sits. Let's let people use it. It's a town property. It's not doing anything else. So,
The deer use it.
well, no, the deer use it only because the guy in Chase's market, the Chase, the
Yeah,
old Chase farm,
yeah.
feeds them so that he can hunt.
Are you serious? That's against the law.
That is, I was just gonna say, that's kind of against the law.
Well, not only that,
Thanks,
but
Chris.
he's hunting the town property.
Okay,
Even more of a.
Marcy, thank you. Yeah,
Well, thank you.
this was a long one. This, we haven't had one this long in quite a while.
Trying to absorb it all. It was interesting, very interesting. Trying not to let personal opinions,
No, it's, we can do that. That's why we're here. I mean, it's okay to do that. You heard.
I like the Masonic thing. I think that's gonna be great. The whole car wash thing kind of is leaving it. I'm not sure how I feel about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and